Evening, we're coming back from executive session for what's today's date? September 25th, 2025 meeting of the school committee. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fantastic. We'll start off with our consent agenda. First, we have the minutes from August 28th.
I move to approve them.
Second.
Is that Alyssa? Second?
Yep. In terms of discussion, Mr. Brown, you had previewed these beforehand, and they all looked
Yep, I made a bunch of minor corrections, and Michelle accepted all of them.
fantastic. Any other comments?
I thought they looked good.
I guess just one quick comment about that. There was a discrepancy in the language in the bullying prevention sections, where it's inconsistent between the available methods of discipline for those who were bullies and those who might retaliate against someone who reported. And so we didn't formally vote on that, but Attorney McAvoy recommended we make them consistent. I noticed they were inconsistent. He definitely said they should make them consistent, and he did remove the expulsion because that was not in line with state rules regarding what constituted an expulsionable offense.
So do you need a motion?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we do. It's been corrected to be consistent, and it's removed from both. Maybe if we want to make, I guess the point is the minutes are accurate because the minutes just said we discussed that.
Okay.
No, but, okay, but.
So as far as the minutes go,
Yes,
I think the minutes
get it.
are okay.
Changes other than grammatical, probably a good precedent to vote on them.
But if we discussed them, we voted it with the changes that we had discussed, because there was a few in there.
Right, he made them live. He made them as he was making the changes.
Right,
as we
so
were-
that should have been included in our vote.
Yeah, we talked about that, so it should have been updated on the form. That's what we would have voted on, even if it didn't get.
Okay, well, if that's,
Yeah.
if you recall that the change just restores what we voted on, then I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
It does. I just
That's
want to
fine.
make it clear because
That's
when we saw the original draft of it, they were different. And then live in the meeting, he corrected it.
Yes.
So I'm just making it clear,
Yeah.
really.
Thank you.
That's what happened.
Any other comments? Great. Mr. Moskovich.
Yes.
Mrs. Sams.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Superintendent Lathrop, we have a donation.
We do. Point Line Space. It's a local procurement business. They have offered to donate some science materials to North Andover Middle School, an estimated value of about $2,000. This will include things like safety goggles, digital kitchen scales, some batteries, mini hot plate. They're all brand new and they're still in their packaging. We chatted with Mr. Gonzalez, the principal, and the middle school would like to accept this donation, this gift.
Fantastic. Chair would accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will move that we accept this generous donation from Point Line Space.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Sams. Any discussion?
Thank you to Point Line Space for thinking of our middle school students and how they could benefit from this. That is greatly appreciated.
Mm-hmm. I like being able to keep kids safe with goggles.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to find a little information on them.
It's in our.
It's at the bottom
It's
of
in
it.
our packet.
Oh, okay. There you, okay, same true.
Yep.
So are they based in North Andover? Doesn't look, from what I can see, doesn't look like they are. Or just,
They are an interior design firm specializing in services for educational institutions.
I think they're in Carlisle maybe. Okay, I just wanted to
I
kind of,
think they may be they may be a resident of North.
a resident of North Andover. Oh,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
fantastic.
Then I will add my thanks to Mr. Constable,
Yes.
principal of the firm.
Moving on to a vote. Mr. Moskovich.
Yes.
Mrs. Sams.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. Student rep report. Lonely only Han. But you're going to do amazing. He got this.
All right, I guess I'll just start. So we had our open house at the high school on the 18th where parents went through their students' schedules and learned about each class from the teachers. Student ambassadors helped volunteer to direct parents around the school, and Ms. Holman wanted to thank Mr. Brown and Mr. Moskovich for being there. I think I saw you as well.
You did.
We had our club fair today at lunch where people promote their clubs. This was also run by the ambassadors as well as club leaders hosting booths and posters that advertise their club. This was held on Main Street, is what we call like the main hallway at our school, and we had to move it inside because of the rain. But I think it went really well. There was a huge attraction, I guess, and it was a great chance for 9th graders and new students to see what our high school offers in terms of extracurriculars, and honestly any student really. Ms. Holman visited the student council and we discussed outreach and inclusion initiatives like a more robust student media program and an advisory council. So the advisory council is a group of diverse students to aid student reps in their report, and the media that we discussed was things about a podcast and school news articles, and this would be issued especially during advisory. College visits are still ongoing with many more schools to come, and you can find and register for these on Naviance, and make sure that you remind and take a pass from your teacher of that class so that you can go down to see that college. And we had our first half day yesterday. It was very successful. I know a lot of the students were kind of confused about how much work we'd get done ending school at 10:40, but it was actually really well. I felt like it was a very productive day, and a lot of my friends and students agreed. And lastly, an update on the phone procedure. Teachers have noted that they feel like they've got a lot more work done in class, less distractions, and even the students have noted how less distracted they feel as well. So that's all I have for today, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
I don't have a question, but I'll shout out for the student ambassadors who were very helpful in finding your way around that place. And not just for me, because I've been there a few times, but they were really engaged and did a wonderful job. So
Yes, it was nice that there were so many of them.
yeah,
It was fun.
and they were
You
easy
would
to
have
spot.
to work hard to really get lost.
I'll just say I went to the club fair today, and it was a lively, active, lots of clubs. Everybody was very communicative. They had lots to say about their clubs. I think I might have joined a few along my
Wow,
way.
good salesman.
I tried to convince Ms. Holman to join a couple, but it was great to see that lots of diversity, and I sort of tweeted this out, but I think there's a club for everyone if you're looking for something. And what I think is really great is that if there isn't, you have the opportunity to start the club that you want to have.
For sure.
Thank you so much. You did amazing.
Thank you.
Alrighty, moving on to public comment.
So I have a public comment. Do you want me to go sit over there?
You can. We also have member if you prefer later to do member comments at the end, it's up to you. You get to make the choice.
Public comment.
Sure. Thank you.
Alyssa Koenig, 20 Methuen Avenue, speaking on behalf of myself and not as a member of the school committee. As you know, we had our first shortened day yesterday, which I know our students said was very successful. One of the things I was concerned about was the clarification and inconsistency about how lunch would work. I know when we did our filled it out on Linked, it was a take-home lunch is how it was listed, and then we got an email, and I think it was different across the different elementary schools of, they'd have 15 minutes to eat, or they'd have to eat in the classroom, and I just had concerns that especially kids that maybe have food insecurities, feeling rushed to eat, maybe not getting the time for the nutrition that they need, if maybe taking home would be better, but maybe that could be evaluated on how that could be done consistently where students are getting the time to be able to eat. And especially we have a lot of students that are moving over into Kids Stop. Kids Stop said they'd have a few minutes, but there was a little, again, very unclear. We just want to make sure our kids are getting the nutrition that they need.
Thank you. Yeah, or during your report.
Okay.
Anyone else? Fantastic. Moving on to community events and upcoming NAPS events.
we have,
I do have some. So you know that the North Andover Farmers Market, I think that's on here, is coming up. Do you have that one right, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want?
Yep. So this weekend, the North Andover Farmers Market, everything this Sunday is the last North Andover Farmers Market. If you haven't been there yet, you should go. It's fantastic. It's behind Town Hall by the old senior center. And this weekend, the school committee and myself and Mr. Moskovich are going to have a community chat table there if anyone wants to come by. Why they get there. Usually there's lemonade, there's popcorn at all the different stands, or pick up some vegetables if that's your thing. Please stop by and ask some questions.
Great. Just
praise would also be welcome.
Oh, yeah, don't throw the vegetables.
Wow.
On October 8th, coming up is the Safe Routes to School. It's Walk, Bike, and Roll Day. You have a flyer in your packet. I know that Thompson School is participating on the 8th, so they're meeting at Grogy's, is that how we say it here? Grogan's Field. That's where people will be gathering, and then walking to Thompson School. I can't wait to wear my orange vest again and get my stop sign, so that'll be great. And then there's some other events happening throughout each of the schools. Thompson School also has a book fair coming up, an ice cream social. The book fair starts September 29th. They have an ice cream social on October 1st. Families can also participate in the book fair when they go to the ice cream social. Franklin has a Fall Fun Fest coming up on October 5th, and a book fair October 14th through 17th, and an ice cream social on the 15th. Again, you can visit the book fair. Atkinson School is doing Trunk or Treat on October 24th, and Sargent School is going to have their fun run on October 16th, and they're also doing a Trunk or Treat on October 24th. The middle school has open house coming up. The first one is on October 8th. That's for their 6th graders. October 16th is for their 7th graders, and October 22nd is for their 8th graders. I'm trying to think if there's anything else on here. I know, oh, she gave me another whole list. Sorry. The high school has the marching band competition coming up October 11th. That's a wonderful event where many marching bands gather together. We do have a holiday. October 13th is a holiday. There will be no school that day. October 15th, the class of 2026 are having their group photo in the football field. October 17th, the homecoming dance, and October 17th through 19th is homecoming weekend events. So just lots of things. We'll talk about this again. We'll have a time to meet in October. The town is offering a flu clinic every Wednesday from 9:30 to 11:30. This started on September 3rd. It runs through October 29th. That's at the North Andover Senior Center. There's a family flu clinic for ages, so the flu clinic that has been running at the senior center are for ages 19 and up. There's a family flu clinic, that's a tongue twister, for ages 3 and up. That's going to be on October 28th. That is 4 to 7, and that's at North Andover High School. And just also to let the community know that the North Andover Cultural Council is accepting FY26 grants applications. You can go online. I think they might have something through the town of North Andover. But there are lots of opportunities for schools, for individual teachers, but also for community members, for the town if you're looking for something to, for a grant to do a cultural event within the town.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a community event to add.
Oh, I just have a question about one.
Sure.
So for the, losing my words, Safe Routes to the walk.
Yes.
Is Thompson the only middle school that has anything?
Elementary, it's the only one that I have heard right now that's participating. Usually it's hard when you can't find a spot to gather at and then to walk to the areas.
Yeah.
But we have put it out to all of our schools and asked them to consider participating.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Officer Wilson, our community resource officer, will help assist during that day.
Mr. Brown.
So the NAAA, the North Andover Athletic Association, who's a very helpful organization and does a lot for us, and I am formerly a board member of, normally does the Nights on the Run on Indigenous Peoples Day weekend. They're not doing that this year, although it'll be back next year. They're not doing it because of all the construction going on down there.
Yeah,
And
you can't really run on that road.
It's a good thing. The construction is a great thing, but it was going to get very complicated. So it will be back next year, but they are still going to have the fun run for the kids on Saturday, the 12th. I'm looking for the time here. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's going to be probably at 9 a.m. They may want to check their website to get the precise time at the high school. You know, and my colleague from Merrimack, the track coach, will be there, as he always is, to, you know, rally the troops and get them going. So that event is still happening. We encourage parents, I don't know where the cameras are, but encourage parents to come to that and mark your calendars for the resumption of the event for the adults next year.
Start training.
And then start training now. I'm going to start right now. The other thing I wanted to mention, it's way in advance here, but the first robotics tournament is November 22nd, I think. Yeah, we'll have more to say about that later. But but the reason I want to bring that up is that they are, as always, in need of judges, refs, parent and adult volunteers, community volunteers. I'll be a judge, but you know we need more. They'll need more people. So if folks are inclined to support that and have some time on that date, please, they can reach out to me if they don't know how to, or Mr. Ahern at the high school to volunteer.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anything else? Superintendent Lathrop, central office updates in your report.
Excellent. Okay, here we go. So on my opening slide tonight, I'm sharing with you some of our middle school students who are taking advantage of a new program we have in conjunction with MEVA that gives them an opportunity to ride the MEVA bus to the youth center. Mr. Hicks is going to talk a little bit more about that in the chair's report, but I wanted to highlight that in my pictures here. It was it's been a great week, and the students have really greatly benefited from that. And then in terms of recognition, our boys our boys cross-country team finished third at the Manchester, New Hampshire Invitational over the weekend. Congratulations to them. At the last football game, they recognized the members of the 1994 North Andover High School football team at the Friday night that was prior to the game. This team won the first Super Bowl in our school's history. It's nice to be able to recognize them. And then also that night, the North Andover High School boys hockey team, they offered to stay after the Friday night football game to clean the bleachers. That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
So I want to recognize the Atkinson School. This year they wanted to pilot to try something different. They offered an open house that was structured where students attended with their families, and they led them through the learning spaces. Principal Laughlin and Vice Principal Jenkaitis reported that the turnout was great. It was really wonderful to see how proud the students were of the classroom. Mrs. O'Laughlin shared at our leadership team this week. She talked to the other leaders about it, of sort of the genesis of where it came from, why they decided to do that. They've sent some surveys out to both parents and students, parents and teachers about how the event went, but wanted to recognize sort of their out-of-the-box thinking and trying something a little bit different. Our middle schoolers, our sixth graders had their annual kayaking on Stevens Pond. This is a team bonding field trip. We really appreciate the teachers and the assistants who are very committed to these trips and were able to get something up and off the ground so early in the school year. The kids had a wonderful day. It was a great day when they were on Stevens Pond. I think it's the eighth graders that will be doing like a ropes course later on. And then I want to take a minute to recognize our North Andover Middle School teacher, Mr. Pat McGravy. He's been awarded the 2025 Edward M. Kennedy Award for Excellence in Civics Education. He was chosen for this honor because of his work on the Institute's Teacher Advisory Board, and his efforts to help with new programs. He's co-presented at it's called NCSS, but it's sort of like a
National Council for Social Studies.
Thank you.
It was a good conference.
Conference is the word I was looking for. And for his commitment to bringing the students to the Institute every year. He's going to be honored at the Edward Kennedy Institute on October 26th. We will invite Mr. McGravy to come back. You know that you've asked for a civics presentation, so we certainly will include him in that. But here's the pictures of some of the work that he has done with his students, and we're really very proud of Mr. McGravy. And he wanted to make sure that he wanted the committee and the community to know how much he appreciates the support he's received from Mr. Gonzalez during the years in advocating and helping him to be able to continue that work. And then finally, I'd like to take a minute, and the school committee as well. I know that you want to recognize John Mullen. John Mullen has been our Director of Custodians and Maintenance. He's worked for the district for 31 years. He started as a custodian here. He is retiring after 31 years of work. I'm pretty sure he's going to take all the secrets with him too, so we'll see how that goes. But John has been, this is a picture of a little bit maybe of his earlier days, but we really want to thank him for his dedication and his hard work and his commitment to North Andover. I think that John sees North Andover as more than just a job. I think he sees North Andover as his family. He treats every building like he treats his home. He has a lot of pride in the work that he does, and we really, really appreciate, and I appreciate personally, his commitment to stay. I think he could have retired a little bit earlier, but he stayed on with us during the last few years, and so we appreciate that. The school committee does have a plaque that you had made for him. He wasn't able to join us here tonight, but I think may be something going on for him at some point. Was just presented on this day in September to John Mullen, Director of Maintenance and Custodians for North Andover Public Schools, for his outstanding leadership and unwavering commitment as Director of Maintenance. Your years of dedication has been instrumental to our success. The North Andover Public Schools extends its gratitude and best wishes for a happy and healthy retirement, and we'll make sure that he gets that award.
You're here.
You're here.
Here.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It really is impressive. And then I can just share that we are, obviously, when somebody leaves, you fill those positions, so we are currently in the process of filling that position, and once we know who that is, we'll let you know that as well. So just a few little highlights about some of the things that have happened since the last time I saw you. The SEAM, which is one of our collaboratives, I sit on the board. We had our first board meeting, which was really just going over financials and some of the work that they're doing. Last weekend, Smolak Farm had something called Superhero Day. On Saturday, the firefighters and the police officers were there, and then on Sunday, I was there. I do not compare to firefighters and police officers. I'm going to have to get myself a uniform and some coloring books. But it was a really great day at the farm. Nice to be there. That's a picture of myself and Mr. Smolak. We had the elementary open house, and many of you attended an open house, and all the principals and the families were really grateful and happy to see you there. The high school also had their open house, as we heard. I mentioned we've had round 1 interviews for the Director of Custodians and Maintenance. We have the second round tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a new person after that. Ms. Ando and I have started a certificate in educational finance. We went to our residency last week at Georgetown University in D.C. It was 2 days in Washington, D.C. That starts this certificate, and then we participate every Wednesday remotely. It was great. It was wonderful to be there. There was some very creative thinking about financing, about finances, some different ways of thinking about, one of the things that we talked about was, unfortunately, there are many people in the place of having to make difficult decisions, but it doesn't always mean cutting. And sometimes there's a ways to look at some of the things that you might want, and that you might be able to look at making some additions or looking at some things differently. So I think we were pretty good students. I give you a lot of credit, students. 8 to 4 was hard, sitting in my seat and paying attention the whole day.
And not looking at your phone.
And not looking. They did give us breaks in order to answer some emails, and so they gave us some pretty good breaks because they knew what we were doing. But it was great. It was people from all over. We had our first leadership meeting. Not our first, but we had a leadership meeting in this week. One of the things we worked on were tuning our school improvement plans. So our leaders are working on their school improvement plans. We used a protocol to help them get them in shape to be ready to present them to you. We had a presentation about MAP and DIBELS, about the testing and about the timelines. We also had a presentation about MAP growth, getting it precise, why the instructional time matters for some fair comparisons in student achievement. So what that really talked about is that some students can have the same MAP scores, but if you give a student the test, let's say on the second day of school, instead of maybe 2 weeks into school, the student that has had 2 weeks into school, if they score the same as the person who did it on the first day, they're not really the same student, because one student had some instruction and they weren't scoring. You would expect them to score a little bit higher. So it was really wonderful to hear about that, and then also about the window of testing, and that why it's important to really do your testing when the window opens. And not stretching it out for students. So that was great. All of our administrators participated in a 2-hour school law boot camp. It was presented by Stoneham, Chandler, and Miller, attorneys at law. These are the attorneys that we keep on retainer with us. It was wonderful. It was great. We went over student records, Title IX reporting, bullying reporting, be able to ask a lot of questions. It was a really good presentation in 2 hours. And then we have started special education small group reading PD with the Hill for Literacy. So I think you might remember Ms. Ando talking about last year. Our reading teachers went through our training with the Hill for Literacy, and our special education teachers are going through that same training this year. And then you asked for some updates on enrollment. So school committee members, you all have the sort of larger you have this in a one sheet in front of you. It is linked for families at home when this is live that you look at. In order to make the slides, I didn't want to put the one sheet because it didn't really make any sense up there. But I just basically, what I did to try to give you some comparisons is enrollment where we are right now, September 25th, and then enrollment, what that looked like in June of when we ended the school year. Now, just sort of a caution is that enrollment, we report our enrollment to the state on October 1. So everything is based on your October 1 enrollment. So this is not official enrollment yet. And that's how things are calculated on your October 1 enrollment. Now this slide shows you the Ann Bradstreet School. And I want to caution this slide, why it looks like this is because our preschool students, you see we have 109 registered now. We had 145 in June. It's because preschool students come in when they turn 3. So you typically start with a low enrollment in the school year, and then as our students become eligible for the program, that's why that program will grow. There is a column on there that says special education services only. So those are students who require some services but not a full program, so they come to our program for just that service, and then they leave. So they're not part of the daily program. In kindergarten, you see last year we had quite a large kindergarten. That has gone down a little bit this year. And then the same thing, special education services only in kindergarten would be students who probably are in a private school who do qualify for special education services who come to us for those services. So that's kindergarten. Sure.
So so I understand that the pre-K numbers, we shouldn't read much into that because there's a reason for that. But for the kindergarten numbers, we're down 36. Now, would you, kindergarten numbers, I mean, give or take, that's pretty baked right now. So could I read from this that our kindergarten size is I think you said that 338 was a bubble last year.
It was a big bubble last year.
So now we're back to normal
typical.
levels. Is the 302 more normal?
About typical.
Okay.
What we're used to.
So 330 less than what we had. Okay.
In the elementary setting, you see where we are currently and where we were in June. What I did do for you at the bottom where it says total elementary is that I put in the June of last year, there were 215 students at Kittredge School. Obviously, we don't have Kittredge School right now, which is why the other schools are much larger. Special education out of district, so this is a new column that you didn't see in the first slide. So these are students who would be in an out of district placement, and then again, special education services only. These are students who participate in in either homeschool or private school, and still receive their special education services from us.
So this shows in our schools, sitting in the schools on a daily basis, we're 10 more.
Mm-hmm. Remember, you have that big bubble of kindergarten.
Yeah.
Middle school, again, it shows you where we are currently. Out of district this year, currently we have 7 students. Last year we had 11, but we have 13 students that are receiving services, special education services from us this year. North Andover High School, you see our current enrollment. We put the enrollment for Scarlet Knights Academy so that you know we have a Scarlet Knights Academy here. Right now we currently have 23 students enrolled. We have 29 students in out-of-district special education, and we have 8 students who receive services. Then we included Launch, because Launch students are part of our school. They've always been part of North Andover, but it was a different program before. So we have 15 students that are currently part of the Launch program. I didn't include the top program when they were part of Andover last year because I think Andover counted them in their enrollment.
They did.
Yeah, it did. So grand total of district enrollment, 4,360, but when you consider out-of-district and services only students, we have 4,506 North Andover students.
So overall,
Which is about 100 less than total last year.
so we're down.
Enrollment will ebb and flow, so it'll be interesting to see how this compares to October 1, which is our actual enrollment that we report to the state, and then what that will look. And enrollment typically does, go up and down during the school year.
Which was one of the, I think, school committee members, you've probably gotten the same flyer at home and email that I did, but the Massachusetts Association of School Committees sent out in their newsletter, they had a couple paragraphs about school enrollment and how it has been declining and that we should be anticipating that it will continue to decline. And they had a couple of factors in there. If you haven't had a chance to read the flyer, I think it came in like the last week or two, but it's talking about to continue to expect that, the declining enrollment.
And I was going to add on to that because I know when we were talking about the budget over the past year or two, we've talked about how we've seen the decline steadily over the past several years. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes into
Yeah, I guess it was interesting to see that it's across the state. We're not special in that decline, and it's part of what all of us are struggling with.
The next slide shows you just an elementary breakdown. This shows you all the students in each of the grades at Atkinson, Franklin, Sargent, Thompson, and what the totals look like. And then it also gives you what the capacity is. So this is the capacity biz on the building, square footage. And then the graph on the right shows you a breakdown of each of those and what class size looks like at all of our schools. So you'll see that we are running in the 20s, some 25s. But we also have some students in 17, 18, and it's pretty consistent from school to school.
But the first chart shows us that we could theoretically have an additional 50.
Theoretically, we have
Kids
the
in each-
space.
yeah.
Now, I will be.
We have space for another
I
couple
will
200 kids
caveat
in our
that
buildings right
with,
Not that we want to.
we have used space, some of the space that was once dedicated as classroom space for other kinds of things, so it could be tricky. But if you just strictly look at what they say that building's capacity is, that's what that number is.
But it's interesting to see with the closure, like forecasted, with the closure of an entire elementary school, given our enrollment, there's only, if I'm looking at this correct, we have 2 elementary school classes that are 25. And then on the lowest end I see is 17. The majority in the 18s, most, like you said, sit in the low 20s. I would say probably the average. Well, the average, you have it on the paper, is 21.9, right? So even with, you were able to meet, the team was able to meet the commitment of 25 or less, and only 2 25s.
And then the middle school, so in grades, what we show you on this chart is traditional academic classes. That would be your reading, ELA, math, social studies, science, your traditional classes. For 6th grade have 23, 7th grade have 23, and 8th grade have 22. This is an average class size. Related arts, those would be things like chorus, art, PE, fitness, and health. They're running at 28 for each of the grades. It was a little tricky to sort of get that average because chorus has 74 kids in it. So I was trying to look, and then band has 8 kids. So I did try to take some of those widespread things out to make a more average number. North Andover Middle School has a class this year called the Student Success Class. I would equate this to elementary, what they call WIN, What I Need. So it's a class where students can get what they need. So it's an extra class where they can get support on some of their academics. There are counselors that are part of that to support SEL work and to support our students. And all of those, 6th grade and 7th grade have 24 students in those classes, and 8th grade has 23. And then at North Andover Middle School, our college prep classes are running between 20 and 22. Our honors classes between 22 to 24, and our advanced placement classes are 23 to 25.
And I'll be honest, I don't remember all of the targets, but these,
This
can you
is-
confirm these are all either
this
at
is-
or below the targets that you had set?
These-
Significantly lower than what
That's-
we thought.
They're
the
lower
target
than
would
what we
be.
thought. We did think advanced placement might have been somewhere between, I think it was 25 and 27. So very reasonable numbers.
Thank you.
And kids were able to take the courses they wanted.
kids were able to take the courses they wanted. I mean, they're not all of them, and I think, there are some. We had some issues at the middle school in terms of our students, I'll be honest, that wanted Spanish, but we weren't able to offer them Spanish, so they had their second choice of French, which is really hard because it's not really a first choice, second choice when you have two. So there were some issues there, and I'm sure there was a couple issues at the high school as well. I have a couple other comments that I didn't put in here. One, I just wanted to comment on the public comment from Ms. Sams. So the federal law requires us to offer lunch in school. So in the past, there was some options of to like grab and go and take it home, but that doesn't meet the qualifications for the school nutrition office, that you have to have a time for them to sit down and eat the lunch. It does ensure that that you're seeing maybe kids who might not eat have that opportunity to sit down. It's really great feedback for us that it was a little inconsistent. I'll talk with the principals about that. It was a little tricky. What we wanted it to be was that we had 15 dedicated minutes at the end of the day where students could start their lunch. If they didn't want to buy or have school lunch, they could have a snack that they bring from home, with the understanding that you can take what you don't finish home with you and be able to finish it. But if it sounds a little chaotic and kids are rushed, we certainly can revisit that and perhaps add a little bit more time to that to be able to make that work for them. So I appreciate that feedback. I saw some of the emails going back and forth, and I think schoolhouses had some of those same feelings as well a little bit. And then coming up next, at the next school committee meeting, you can anticipate seeing a financial report from us. I think I have mentioned the last couple times that we had one payroll. We've now gone through 2 payrolls. We have also started to receive some of our invoices. It's very typical. I know it's hard because we have gone through 2 very challenging years of finances, and finance is the thing that we're all looking for numbers and answers and looking for transparency in terms of our finances. We have every expectation to be completely transparent with you and share that information, but it is very typical in school systems to start reporting that information in October. And Ms. Dowd will be here at the next school committee meeting. She's our financial CFO to present that to you. And then we'll also, one of the things that we've been talking about, and we've heard a lot about, is grants. So we'll have some information for you about our grants so that you can see the money that we bring in through grants and the different kinds of grants that we have. And that ends, I believe, my report.
Thank you.
Is that a question?
Sure.
So next time when you say financial report, it'll be how are we doing versus our budget, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Great. I'm good. So next is my chair update. I'm going to do the subcommittee liaisons fourth. I'm going to do the other things first because those are mostly announcements, and then we'll get into the talking with each other for that portion. I got that email, as everyone else did, about the MIVA bus for NAMS going to the youth center. That is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't heard, students can take the bus right after school about 2:35 and or at 3:05 to go from the middle school over to the youth center. It stops right in front of the middle school and stops just a block away from the youth center. And there's youth center staff to meet the kids to make sure they can go from the stop to where they need to be. Mrs. Larcombe was instrumental, you said, in getting that to happen.
Ms. Larcombe, she met with Christina Menicucci from MIVA.
Which is fantastic. Thank you for making that happen. I think it's great that our kids get to learn how to use public transportation in a more safe space with their peers.
Yeah, you saw their faces. They're super excited. I mean, today's a perfect day, right? It's raining.
Yes.
Who wants to walk to the youth center?
And we know in the past, the transportation has been department's been able to give some kids passes on the other buses, but those are going to be a lot more filled this year. And
They are.
So this is a good substitute. And I actually feel the worst for the people who regularly take the bus and now have to deal with the 30 or 40 middle school students on there. That's probably going to be the most uncomfortable.
Guys, question, Chairman Hicks?
Sure.
What did it cost the school district to move the students from the middle school to the youth center?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely
Wow.
nothing. It's great.
That's fantastic.
This is community working together to do things to help our kids. So thank you to everyone who got that to happen.
And it kind of gives the students who don't have an opportunity to engage with their teachers for some extra support at the end of the day. We'd never had a late bus, so now students
that
can
half
stay
hour.
that half hour, and then they can get on that bus and go to the youth center.
And MIVA has also been great, as we heard last time from Ms. O'Neill, with helping us make sure our 18 to 22-year-olds are getting work opportunities and real-life experience, too. So that's been fantastic. They're doing some really good work, so thank you to them.
That is a really great thing. So it's effectively like a late bus for the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's,
There's one stop about 2:30 and then another stop about 3 o'clock.
yeah, that's something I've
Indeed.
informally heard a lot about, so bravo.
In the rain, it's a long walk, but in the rain, it's a very short bus ride. Second, thank you all to the other members for attending the open houses. We still have a few left, the middle school ones coming up 3 consecutive weeks in October. I'm on tap for those.
And I think the preschool, I forgot to
And the
mention
preschool,
that, is coming up.
Yes, I'm going to that one too. I'll be excited to greet people at the door. Next, budget process overview. So there's been a lot of talk about what that's going to look like. We've gotten feedback that we want to make sure we're as transparent as possible and that we start that earlier. I know Superintendent Lathrop, you've already been starting to have those meetings with your folks, and I know Ms. Dowd has already been meeting with the heads of departments, and the town is starting to do their work too. I'm going to say it wrong. The tribe board chairs and vice chairs met with the town manager and the superintendent earlier this week to get the first draft of the budget calendar. It's mostly set. I think select board has to officially approve it. Some of the dates aren't going to change. So we do know, in fact, that May 12th will be the annual town meeting. Put it on your calendars now. Make sure you're there. Yes, we right now also know that our budget presentations will likely be at the very beginning of January. And we'll have it'll be budget presentation from the superintendent, followed by a public hearing, and then followed by a vote in 3 consecutive meetings. I think it all ends by the end of January. And some of those things are dictated by law and by charter that when we have to do them by certain times. Our tri-board meeting with the entire school committee and select board and finance committee will be December 15th-ish. That's once the fixed cost, revenue and cost committee has done their work, and we'll get the financial forecast from the town manager. So those are some of the things that happen town-wide. The first step in our process, and I mentioned this in the nightly news, is that we'll start next time when we meet to discuss our budget directives. And those are the official directions, priorities that we put together as a committee to give to the superintendent and her team as they then go through the budgeting process to make sure that what they put together matches what we want there to be.
Next time meetings in 2 weeks.
Yep. So in the past, and I think the reason why we did this was the budget directors were very aligned to our previous strategic plan. So they usually, since that plan was in effect for a while, it was aligned to that, and we would revisit them and we tweak them a little. I don't think that's really the best thing for us to do anymore. I think we're a new committee. We have no connection really to that plan anymore. We're very different from where we are now than where we were in the past. So actually, we're going to start fresh. So next week's discussion is going to be a little messy, and everyone gets to watch that. It'll be great. But I would appreciate if the other committee members came with their ideas about what they would want to be priorities in the budget. We're not saying some are more important than others. We just want to collect all the ideas, start to frame what those are. So at the second meeting in October, we can make those things look good and be official. And Superintendent Lathrop, you also said you'll have some suggestions to help us along too. So it's going to literally start with a blank document, and we're going to muddle our way through that.
So what did you do in ancient history?
We would pull up the ones from the previous year, and we would look at them and make some adjustments.
Oh, I think it's wise that you're not doing that.
Yeah, which had its place, and I think it was important. Like, we did it for a reason. That's not what we should do anymore. We have to shift. So,
If we have ideas, would you like the committee members maybe to submit them to Michelle ahead of time?
Perfect.
So it's
Yeah.
maybe not a nice sheet of paper, but maybe not blank.
yeah, I mean, by blank sheet of paper, I
Yeah.
mean is like
Start
we
new.
are starting fresh. If you want to send things in advance, I think it's
To
a great
Michelle, okay.
idea.
All right.
We're going to accept the ideas as all
I want to say equal, not in a good way or bad way. Just like we're going to put everything out there and we're going to massage it to make sure it fits with our needs. We're not going to jump to how dare you prioritize this and not that the first time. We're just going to throw everything out there and then think about how we want to make this all make sense.
Yep. There's still going to be hard decisions, right? We're not going to get everything.
Advance, I would say noon on that Wednesday, so Michelle has time to compile them for us would be great, and she'll send out the reminder to do that. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. Any comments, ideas to help make that process a little less weird? It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Do you expect a number as well as words? I mean, do you want us to say roughly? You're saying, I wish we were spending money. Probably nobody's going to come urging to spend this
I don't think we need money. I think it's going to be more along the lines of policy and like priorities. Like you might say, I want us to really prioritize making sure we continue to hire really highly qualified special education staff,
as opposed to the other members who don't want to hire.
Right, but if we want that to be a priority, that's going to have some budget implications different than if we want to prioritize hiring qualified members in a different department, right? It's just like it helps. We want to set the general direction of where we want the superintendent to put her work. And that was just one example. I'm not saying that's the thing, just an example.
At some point, you have to sort of balance the desirability of some proposal with how much it would cost.
Yep, we will.
That would be Pam's job, superintendent.
I think that that's sort of,
Pricing.
I think that you shouldn't think about the cost right now.
Yeah.
You should think about your directives in terms, well, I mean, you should always think about the cost, but you should think about the directives in terms of what do you want to see in this budget? Like, do you want to, not easy one, but one that has been in for years is class size. Now, you made a slight adjustment to that last year, but if that's something that you want to maintain moving forward. There were budget directives before that said to maintain to try to maintain all of our programming, perhaps make some reductions. I'm going to use this as an example. It's only an example. I'm not saying that this is the budget directive in there. But I did hear a lot of feedback last year from the community about world language in our district. It seemed to me that that was a priority to many students, families, educators. That may be something in your budget directives to either preserve the world language and or increase it possibly or not. So it's something along that line. I wouldn't be worried about can we afford it. I think that we want to put in there, I want you to help me by giving me as much direction so that when I meet with our team, that we can present to you a budget that meets your directives, and then also share with you what that budget would cost.
So you don't want us to say, for instance, I want you to spend X number of dollars on this thing in these directives. That would be a little bit more difficult to do.
I think that would be a little bit more difficult, and I think that if a budget directive is that, if you are concerned about, coaching, let's say, or literacy, or that you might say that you want a priority towards early literacy and the fundamentals, the foundations of reading. Or if you are looking towards professional development, thinking that our teachers should understand the science of reading. I don't think that you should let the cost of what that is deter you from putting that in as a budget directive.
So if you follow that example, one response from you could be, just to take that example, that actually you've been, I don't know for sure, but if this is the case, you could come back and say, actually, we've been doing a lot on that. You could say, it's not that you disagree with the
Right.
priority, but
Right.
you could say, we're closer to that than one of us might have thought.
So tonight, you're going to hear from Ms. Ando about our district improvement plan. And I think that I'd ask you to listen very carefully to that and think about the things that she's highlighting as things that we need to improve on, and then think about how that correlates maybe to a budget directive in terms of things that we might need moving forward. Now, you won't have the opportunity to hear the school improvement plans before you're making your budget directives. do we have, some of them you might be able to, but that's the other thing. As you hear from our principals and our leaders about what their school improvement plans are, that should help inform some of your decisions, I would think, in terms of budget directives, because they're saying, one of the things I think you'll hear about, we're working on MTSS, multiple tiered systems of support. So perhaps a budget directive might be in terms of
prioritizing tier 2 interventions for students.
things like that.
So, I'm sorry, what's the calendar like? I mean, when do we have to sort of finish giving you input, and how does that relate to when we hear the school improvement plans?
So we're going to start hearing, we'll hear half the school improvement plans next time, and we'll hear the second half of them, I think the elementary are next time, and the other ones are the time after. Other way around, sorry, I got it backwards. So we'll hear high school, middle school next time, and elementary school is one after. So we're doing all at the same time, and ideally we would hear all of the stuff and then have the discussion. But if we do that, we're not giving the superintendent the directives until really close to Thanksgiving, and there's just not time then to have those then inform the planning that we want her to do with her teams. So it has to happen at the same time.
For us to read, Pam?
The school improvement plans?
Yeah, are they not ready
Yeah,
yet?
no, they are, they're completed, so we could provide them
Would
for
that,
you.
would that help?
Yeah, that would actually help to be able to.
I can get those to you next week.
Yeah,
And they'll
that
all
would
be aligned to
fantastic.
tonight's too, right? By and large.
Yeah.
Some individuals, but
Yeah, that would be really helpful to make sure kind of what we're thinking is what you're saying. We prioritize based on those
Absolutely, but
things.
yes, very aligned to what you'll hear from me tonight.
Fantastic.
Clarification question. So there's two things, right? There's directives and priorities, right? So would you like us to say, I mean, I could want a million things, but I would want to prioritize for you. Like, I think this is more important. A is more important than B, or B is more important than C. Or do you just want directives?
I guess
'Cause we
that's,
can't-
that's your decision as a school
Okay.
committee to
All right.
make. Typically, you give directives, and directives in essence are like priorities, but I mean, I guess that's your decision
Yeah.
as a school committee if that's something
Okay.
you'd like to do.
Okay.
Just one question on timing. I don't think this applies, but we don't need to think about staffing the new Kittredge yet. There's nothing we need to think about, no pre-work that would be part of this budget. Okay. Still far enough away.
All right, thank you. And if you have any more questions about that, please reach out. We can have an individual conversation, so we don't break any rules. Before I get on to the liaisons, a couple more, just I think one more thing. I didn't go to the last one where they did the student football game where they did the blackout. I went to the game before, right after our last meeting, and it was red, white, and blue. And let me just say, the themes that the kids do are really, really fun. The student section shows up all matching, and it's great. So I loved that. And then also, thank you to Ms. Holman and whoever she got convinced to be there to do it. It was a well-organized and supervised event, the first football game I went to. So thank you for the logistical planning of making sure that our kids can go to the games and be safe, both our high school students and our younger kids. And parents, remember, if the younger ones want to go, you get to go too. Maybe they don't want to sit next to you, but that's okay.
My daughter brought a book.
And then we continue to watch the buses in terms of our own yellow school buses that go around and the timing of those. We know we had to make some adjustments for the Stevens Street closure, and we have to readjust those adjustments, and we're doing our very best with those. And thank you for being patient as we trying to get kids here on time, not late, and hopefully not too early. So I think that's all the things I had. So we'll go on to the subcommittee and liaison appointments. Our goal is to finalize these things. So, Kristen, can you zoom in a little bit?
Of course.
Oh, you have to.
One more?
Oh, we should do that first.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I forgot something. So we had an executive session earlier today to discuss negotiations with a non-union personnel, the special ed administrator, and we are going to take a motion on that and then vote. So, this
Do you want me to say
speak about it
yes? So,
first?
yep, I.
introduce it, please.
Yes. I recommending to the committee that we offer Ms. O'Neill a 2-year contract as Director of Special Education. As you know, she came to us last year as the interim Special Education Director. There's nothing interim about Lynn O'Neill. She's either all in or she's not, and she has been all in at everything that she has done for our district, forging relationships with students, with staff, with families, with community members. Sometimes we have a weekly central office meeting, and when Lynn gets to her time to present, I think, how did she do all that in a week, between meeting with the senior center to potentially have a van that we're sharing with the senior center, the work that she's done with MEVA, the summer work in terms of getting launch up and running, having people come in and evaluate some of our programs, the new programs that she was able to turn over in 1 year. It's hard to hear yourself, hear praises about yourself, but it really, truly is. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of special education directors, and Lynn has far surpassed anything that I could ever imagined, and is just a real asset to our team and the work that she's been doing. And grateful that she is interested in sticking with us for a few years in this role, and moving forward of some of the initiatives, and seeing that relationship that she has with Kristen Ando, working together, has been great. So we have offered her a 2-year contract, and that I recommend that the school committee accept my recommendation.
I move that we accept Ms. Lathrop's recommendation to appoint Lynn O'Neill as our special education director and offer her a 2-year contract.
Second.
And just as a quick, I forgot to mention that the chairs of CPAC, although they couldn't be here tonight, they did send a letter in support of this recommendation.
We had a motion and a second. In terms of discussion, do you want to stay? I mean, before we vote on it, I want to make sure you're going to say yes in return.
Yes. I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked at my answer, only because, as I said at the TAPD yesterday, I'm 01845, like, to the core. And I always thought that I wanted to keep my employment and my life separate. But this past year has shown me that they can sort of gel nicely. So I'm pleasantly surprised, and I have a very difficult time taking all of those nice things. I was trying to channel my best Kristen Ando and just say thank you. But I'm appreciative of everybody who's put the trust and sort of the faith in me and things that are happening. I'm very grateful. So thank you.
And this has nothing to do with my vote, but I'm just curious if you share the feelings that the CPAC expressed to us in their letter. I mean, are you comfortable with your relationship there?
Oh, with CPAC?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
very much so. Yes.
It's good.
Any other comments, discussion?
Thank you for considering us.
Thank you for having me.
I deeply appreciate, sometimes when you're an interim, the role is very different than if you're a permanent, because it's just like you're trying not to change too much, just keep it going. But you certainly haven't done that with the great work you did this past summer and last year, in very good ways of thinking about what changes do we really need to make to our programs right now, because that's what's best for kids. So thank you for doing that and staying to continue it.
Thank you.
So, we'll move on to a vote. Mr. Moskovich.
Yes.
Mrs. Sams.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, no backing out now.
No, I don't have to sign that one, do I?
Sign it quick.
Okay, now we're really going to get to our subcommittee liaison appointments. This is the fun, messy part of open discussion. What do y'all want to do?
What? Can we just jump in?
Yeah.
I would like to stay on policy. I'd like
Sure.
to work on updating those and continue that work.
And I would like to stay with the NA Teachers Association, as I did.
I think what we're going to do in terms of all the negotiations, because those are a while off, we will, if there's something in the meantime, if something we're called to the table, yes, but I think once it's time to renegotiate a contract, we'll then
Comes up, yeah.
We'll see who's who really wants to do it.
Yep.
And who's there.
right.
But I appreciate that.
So can I ask a question then? So perhaps just filling in who it is, so in the event that we had like an MOA or MOU
Yes.
with any of those bargaining units, so I would know which school committee member would be the one
Yes.
to
So
loop
Dave
in.
would be the Teachers Association.
Yep.
I would be the Administrators Association. TAs, was that the previous?
Oh, previous, I don't know.
Was that you? I think it was,
I
no,
did custodians.
you did custodians. I don't think anyone from the TAs is still
All right,
here.
So it'll be Kelly. Are you going to be
Yeah.
going
Yep.
forward? All right, so.
Administrative assistants was Ed and I. And, right? And I did, and no, Ed, did you do administrative assistants with me? I know we did, we did cafeteria.
You guys were
We did
cafeteria.
the
Yeah, I
cafeteria,
did school
yes.
administrators, didn't I, Joe? That
You
wasn't
did school administrators.
Yeah.
I did administrative assistants.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
it's
I
not-
misread it.
I don't think, is that one on here, school administrators?
Yeah, school
Yeah,
administrators is the
the
second
second
one.
one.
That's Kelly,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the Unit B, right?
That's, yeah.
So that one's me.
That's, I read administrators
Yeah.
and
Gotcha.
didn't read the whole thing.
It's
Yeah.
custodial, who was custodial?
Alyssa.
Okay.
So we'll keep those, since those are the people that negotiated those, we'll keep those the same. And then when the time comes to renegotiate, we will revisit the conversation.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So who's cafeteria, sorry, who's?
Cafeteria was Ed and myself.
Okay.
And admin assistants? Sorry, I'm just trying to take
That's,
notes.
That was me.
Thank you.
So you and I are on the special ed, whatever we call ourselves,
Yes.
advisory committee, which isn't listed here. But we're
Correct.
still there.
We should add
no,
that.
that's at the bottom, NAC PAC, right?
That's a
No, no.
liaison
That's different, that's
too.
liaison, okay, so that's
different.
So Kristen, could you add the advisory subcommittee on special education? Thank you for that, Ed. We still have legal affairs at the top. And then we have fundraising policy practices, which we should definitely need to do some work on. And then we have all the liaisons that are unclaimed at the bottom.
So I mean, I'll take legal affairs, and I
I
feel
think
like
that's a good idea.
I feel like fundraising policy practices could also tie into the policy work.
I
in
think that
general.
we should, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And I would like to do that alongside you, Alyssa.
Perfect.
Although legal affairs, I have no idea. That's not my job. Trading. Dave, you continue to be on Kittredge.
Yep.
So I'm happy to do the CPAC if nobody else wants it.
Great.
I've been the Health Advisory Council. The only hesitation is just the meetings are sometimes hard for me to make when they're like 10 in the morning. But given my new job, I probably can, so I can continue with that. It was hard last spring
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
hard.
for me, but I could now, as long as they don't pick certain specific times, I'll be okay.
And for the BRC, I feel like Michelle O'Leary, who's in charge of it, sent out the dates for that. They're 4 times a year, and they are from 1 to 2. in the
BRC
afternoon.
stands for Building Respectful Communities.
Thank you.
That was me in the past. If someone else would like to, that's okay. If not, I'm happy to continue. I will continue. It's fun. It's all the other organizations in town get together, talk about what we're doing for kiddos. It's great. Legislative liaison.
I'm kind of interested in that one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
I think that's everything. Did we miss anything?
I feel like that went way too quick.
We're going to go with it. Thank you all. So we are revised. What's today's date? 9/25. We'll fix that.
I think what may be interesting too this time around is like maybe each of us who took one of these put like a
Should
two sentence definition on what it is and what's the responsibilities. I think some of it gets a little
I don't know what it is.
unsure what it is. So maybe just this time around, let's each take a two sentence stab so we can kind of build
It's a good
a
idea.
history and then change it as it goes. Because I know that last year when I looked at this and went through it for the first time, I'm like, I don't know what these are,
And
what the
we
responsibility
should
is.
also commit to, Pam does it for us with Crest and, or SEAM, and Ed has done it for Crest. We should do more regular communications back to the entire group
The
somehow.
only one I didn't catch was TAs.
That's me.
Kelly.
All righty.
Did you want to do that now, Kelly?
No, I was I was not thinking about doing the 2-sentence definition now.
No,
But just
well,
maybe we kind of give it to Michelle. Like maybe would that be a process? Like for
Yes.
any of them that we're assigned to, just get Michelle a 2-sentence or 2-bullet something definition of what we think each
Well,
one of these entails.
What if you've never done it before?
Then you develop it over the next couple of months as you
Then
do it.
go do
right?
it and
Let's take a
report
step.
back. That is your official
And
assignment.
Reach out, ask Michelle. She'll tell us what
She'll
to
tell
do.
you. Alrighty. I think that is everything for my chair report and update. Moving on to the late breaking news of the Kittredge Elementary School Building Committee.
Oh, my goodness.
It's late breaking.
Yes, I gotta wake up my machine. Hang on, sorry.
Late waking.
Michelle, did
Wait, what? I missed it. Oh, wait,
We've got, it's not even 8 o'clock and you're already there.
while he's waking up his computer, Michelle did include for you in your packet the flyer about the youth services and the bus.
Okay. We had a meeting today that lasted for exactly 2 hours. So basically, we were getting now into the nitty-gritty of the building the. Okay, so let me review for everybody, because it's hard to say these things in isolation, right? We are working towards a final schematic design that we want to submit on October 23rd to the MS Massachusetts School Building Committee for their approval in their December meetings. It's going to be a 350-page document, right? And over this meeting today and the next meeting or two before that date, we will be finalizing that. Today's effort, we got into a lot of the nitty-gritty on what we want to keep in our budget and what we want to not keep in our budget to try to keep the costs reasonable. And there was a lot of details. Most of the time today was spent on something called value engineering options, which are taking a look, and you're probably familiar with this from the middle school work you did, Mr. Chair, but a lot of it was, right, brick type X versus brick type Y, concrete retaining wall type Z versus type W. Pros and cons of each, a lot of discussion, inevitably I should back up one more set. Both the owner's project manager and the architect had what are called review, basically estimate reconciliation meeting, right? Where each one had their contractor or themselves do an estimate on what all these things cost. Then they got together with both of those groups to try to reconcile the estimates so that we have a more accurate estimate of where we're going to land. And then what the committee was doing was reviewing each of these different topics to see, to give our opinion. Yes, we can live without that. No, we can't live without that. So there was a lot of that sort of detail. There were something like 15 different topics that we went through.
There were more than that.
Yeah, probably more than that. And we voted on various ones. And then we also had to finalize a construction budget, and we've given them those directives so that they will come back with a final estimate of what the actual construction cost will be, and also the percentage that MSBC will contribute versus the percent we have to ask town meeting for a debt exclusion of 4
On May 12th.
on May 12th.
Get a babysitter.
And some of the things that we maybe said we could live without, if things change and the finances look different, we can put them back in. But also understanding that some things that we said that we really want, if finances changes, we may have to revisit some of that as well.
Right. And we worked hard there's a lot of discussion about this, because some of the things were things like either the community or the staff folks really felt were necessary and critical to educational purposes. So, we kept those in. Some that were less critical, we could consider dropping down. A lot of discussion went into some of the longer range impacts. For example, we spent a lot of time today talking about roofs. Roofs? The roof, the thing up above, right?
I bet you're in favor of one.
We are strongly in favor of. But you would be amazed at how much detail there is in metal roofs.
How to seal it, how long it lasts,
Yes.
what it
Exactly.
costs.
Yes, different materials, how long they'll last, pitch of the roof, all of that kind of thing. And by and large, I guess my comment would be that we tended to look towards the longer lasting, lower maintenance kinds of options as our favorites. That's a summary. And I think does that
I
capture
think
it?
you did a great job.
Thank you.
And
Do you have a question?
all the meetings are public.
Yes.
People can go watch. How will the school building committee share out the general final schematic design with everybody? The thing that gets submitted, how will we now then, for the community, get to see what it looks like?
So, I think the document will be public,
Document
right?
will be published. There is a web page for Kittredge School Building Committee, and all of the meeting minutes go up there, and all the documents go up there to see. If there's anything else that needs to go out to the public, we will send that out. We've used School Messenger to be able to send some of that information out. As I receive more information, I am trying to keep the Kittredge School Building Project Facebook page updated. People keep liking it and joining it, and I'm like, I don't have anything to put on it yet, but it's great. I mean, whenever I can, I try to put it. It's good that people are joining it, because I'm hoping that as we get into it and fill it up, people will be able to get some information there.
And Mr. Chair, what I think I could do is take the minutes and summarize them for us when we get to that point, right? Because those will be doing a good job of, sort of summarizing what we're putting forward.
Yeah, I think even if we just get
But the committee will have, once we know exactly what it's going to look like, we'll have lots of, opportunities to engage with the public, either in-person forums. We have done virtual ones before, so that people know what we're looking for before we head into May
I
12th.
think people will want to see just an image or two of this is what the
Yes.
thing that we're going to be building,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
And in terms of timeline, it goes in October 23rd. If I heard you correct, we get a decision back by December.
It's mid-December.
Holiday,
I don't.
Opportunity, if necessary, to make revisions.
Correct.
We do know we are going to be asking at town meeting to be able to build it. We're going for the funds to build it. What that exact ask, we don't know yet but there will be an ask for a building and funds to do that.
Right.
On May 12th.
Get a
Yes.
babysitter.
Well, we'll be asking for approval to borrow money to
Yes.
to do it.
But there has to be an election afterwards.
And then,
Yes.
Yeah.
So when will that happen?
So that has to be called by select board. It has to happen legally by September 15th, but can be scheduled by select board whenever they so choose. They will figure out the right time to do it.
And our,
They recommended they say
Our
60
next-
days after.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it can be, if they choose to, it can be scheduled before town meet. They
Or
can put
right
it on the
after.
calendar before town meeting.
They can choose to
60 days out.
schedule it immediately. You don't have to wait until town meeting to then go ahead and schedule it. You can schedule it and always potentially cancel it if necessary. So you don't have to wait till May 12th to then have them decide to schedule an election, because you need to give 60 days to have an election.
All else equal, you want it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because you want to get it out to bid and put shovels in the ground.
Well, exactly.
and I think our next meeting is the 14th, October 14th.
So it'll be after we meet next time. So
It will be, yeah.
So your final essay is due before before the 25th. So we'll get to hear it then.
Yep.
All the stuff. Great.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if this was discussed last week. I haven't had a chance to listen to the minutes. But we had that Google form where people got to see the design. Do we get a good feedback on that?
Oh, yeah. I did talk about that last time.
Okay,
It was
I'll go
100
back.
I think we had
I've still gotta listen to it.
150-ish responses about the different facades and different, like window density and window placement, things like that. But yeah, and I think it was option C was the most popular one, which is, I think, the one we're going with. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Whatever,
I'll
whatever,
look
that
through
was
it.
taken into consideration, and yes, we did get a really good
And
response
even
on
when
it.
we were going through, I can't remember the word that they just used, but when we were going through those items today, we referred back to, what was some of the community input that we received in that survey? This was really important to the community, so let's think about that.
Good.
So really valuable information.
Yeah, and very good participation, too. I was pleased by that.
It's great.
Is there any economy to scale? I mean, people build school buildings all the time. Do you start from scratch each time, or building on sort of the experience of at least your builder and your?
Oh, yeah,
Oh.
we bill in there. Yeah, the committee they have extensive experience, they brought us places, they were able to see lots of different things.
But I mean, you don't need to reinvent the wheel on each little part.
No, so the owner, well, both the architect and the owner project manager have both done many projects, similar projects, and in fact report to us some of the material we get shows examples of other districts and other school buildings that they've built. You know, that's a part of the material that we get.
Mr. Brown, I know our owner project manager, we worked with them for the middle school, and
colors.
also they are approved, recommended, whatever, by the Massachusetts State Board of the MSBA people. Architect too?
No, the architect is new to us.
New to us.
To us, yes.
But Collier is they've done good for us.
Right, that's the OPM.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on the architectural firm's name.
Machado.
Machado Silvetti.
They've been very great to work with.
And they, you know, I mean, Collier's, they're in lockstep with them, and I don't think I'm wrong about this. I mean, they have plenty of school building experience.
Oh, lots of school building
Yeah.
experience, and no, we didn't start, you don't start by saying, from scratch, but they also are very, very concerned about it being specific to North Andover and specific to North Andover's needs and specific to Kittredge School needs, which is wonderful, taking into a lot of that, but we've had lots of opportunities to see other schools for them, just as Dave has said, so we have a great team.
And they've been present too, and we've had the community feedback meetings. The architects have been there. They, and they've been very open.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other questions? Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Brown. So I switched around on the agenda tonight, the presentations with the continued business, because the presentation from Ms. Ando is going to connect very well into the superintendent's goals. So we're going to do continued business next. That's why it's a little different on tonight's agenda. So we have overnight field trip request for Germany and Spain. We had the first read last time, and tonight is the second read, and the goal is to approve the overnight field trips as presented. Chair?
We didn't get any questions.
No questions? Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we approve the overnight field trips, and I'm looking for the list of them.
Germany and Spain.
Oh, there they are, Germany and Spain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. In terms of discussion, I hope lots of kids go and they have a wonderful time and eat lots of good German and Spanish treats. I like the food part the best. When I went to France in high school, I got in trouble for eating too many sweets at once. Any other comments? Fantastic. Mr. Moskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sams?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So they may begin doing the work to get those organized and paid for. Mrs. Ando and Superintendent Lathrop.
Yes, I'd like to just turn it over to Ms. Ando, our Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. She's going to walk you through the district improvement plan. And then just again, a reminder, I ask that you listen carefully to this. It may help you as you think about budget directives. You may hopefully also see some connections when I present my goals to you from this. And then, I turn it over to Ms. Ando, who has worked on this.
friends.
Good to
Our
see you.
expert.
Ms. Ando, I just want to clarify, would you like us to save all questions and comments to the end?
That would be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And then we'll go back through in order, so we're not jumping around and you can stay focused.
We have quite a system, don't we? Exactly. This is going to sound remarkably familiar, this set of district improvement goals, which is, I think they're great goals, and I think we're hammering away at them. But our theme for this year, rooted in purpose, growing in practice, honoring their strong roots we've cultivated over 2 years, and look upward toward growth, collaboration, and deeper impact. So everything goes along with that theme. Here are 3 goals from a 30,000-foot view. The first one, I know you're shocked, is about HQIM, high-quality instructional materials, and equity. Equity is not a separate goal. Equity is wrapped into absolutely everything we do. Goal 2, multi-tiered system of support in equity. How do we work with kids at Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 in both traditional subjects and social-emotional learning? And Goal 3, budgeting. Implementing our strategic decisions, maintaining our efficient systems, and operating within the allocated budget. And so we based these goals on, again, 30,000-foot view on this is MCAS data from 2024. MCAS data for 2025 continues to be embargoed until, I think, tomorrow afternoon. And so, but numbers are similar. And the idea that I think we have amazing kids, amazing teachers, and amazing families, and we are meeting and exceeding between 46 and 63% of our students are getting to the bar of meeting or exceeding on this particular assessment. MCAS isn't everything, but is something we should certainly pay attention to. And although we are above the state average, I think we all want to do better, and we all aspire to do better for our kids and for our families and for our community. And so that is the basis, and that in the past there might have been some goals around subgroups, but my main goal, this feeds into goal number 1, high quality instructional materials. All students engaging in rigorous grade level learning experiences grounded in HQIM where it's available. High quality instructional materials are not available in every subject at every grade level, but when they are, we want to use them. Yes, exactly. And when they're not available, we want to be examining our instruction to be sure it's aligned to the state standards and as rigorous as can be, setting up our kids for success in college, career, and life. And so I'll talk a little bit more about goal number 1. I know you've heard me talk about high quality instructional materials before, but in a lot of conversations with community members, teachers, and even students, they're like, what exactly are you talking about? But high quality instructional materials are published materials. And in the past, a publisher may be able to come to somebody like me and do a really great sales pitch and sell me a textbook, a curriculum, and I really had no way, or someone who sat in my seat had no way to know the quality of that beyond my own judgment. Within the last 10 to 15 years, Ed Reports has been developed, which is a national, it's like Consumer Reports, but for educational products only. It's a national nonprofit third-party organization. And then Massachusetts developed its own third-party curriculum ratings by teachers or Curate. And so there's a national organization and a state organization that makes a determination on whether or not curriculum is high quality or not. And it's too small to see, but you see there's like usability, alignment to the standard, rigorous, with the idea that HQIM is aligned to rigorous academic standards, grounded in evidence, in supporting all learners in meeting grade level expectations. And I was explaining to the high school faculty yesterday the idea that our teachers are amazing. Our teachers have had thousands of students, hundreds of classes over 20 to 30 years in a career. Most of these reports are based on billions of students across 50 states over several, many years. And so the idea that we have resident experts for our kids, and there's this larger data source that we should be tapping into. So just to, I'm not sure everyone's always, I'm not sure I'm always clear about what I mean when I say HQIM. So again, we have lots of choices at the K to 5, K to 8 level. We have lots of choices in ELA, math, science. We have less at 9 to 12. So I'll show you. We have our different grade levels are in different places when it comes to HQIM. And so you'll see from when you hear from principals or when you read the district improvement plan, there's a set of goals for K to 5, a set of goals for 6 to 8, a set of goals for 9 to 12, because everyone is a different place on this trajectory. This is the Implement Mass process, which is the Massachusetts process that's been established to implement high quality instructional materials specifically. You can see where our K to 5 work is landing, our 6 to 8 work is landing, and our 9 to 12 work is landing. So the idea that follows the availability of the materials. There are more materials available for our younger students than for our older students. But in 9 to 12, we do have some great choices for ELA, science, and math. And so social studies is coming in the fall. The Curate panel is releasing. Is that what we hear?
I haven't heard.
I know, exactly. So I feel like somebody just went to one of the history social studies leaders on Friday, and they heard that it should be coming soon. So the idea that, and our kids are growing into this. Like this year's 4th graders have been exposed to their entire career of HQIM. So awesome stuff, foundations, wit and wisdom, some form of Eureka math. And so the kids are going to be used to a certain amount of cognitive structures, so we have to catch up. And so again, we're trying to increase access for all students and integrity to the programs themselves. We don't want our teachers to be robots. Our teachers are very talented people, but again, these materials have been vetted over billions of students across all 50 states, and the idea that we should really capture that knowledge base and put it to our advantage. Goal number 2 is a multi-tiered system of support. These two goals are intertwined because tier 1 is your first level of support. And so the idea that this is the Massachusetts MTSS blueprint at a glance, and you'll see at the bottom, like the biggest base there is tier 1. What's the universal amount of instruction that we want all kids to have? All kids, we mean all kids, like the access. And then tier 2 is more targeted, and tier 3 is intensive. And so absolutely goal number 1 fits into this goal as well, that we want to have the best access we can for kids. And then if our instruction is not meeting their needs, we want to have ways for them to get targeted and intensive instruction. This comes with stronger tier 1, common assessments, and common interventions. And we are beginning to do these things with Hill for Literacy and different organizations we're working with. Michelle O'Leary has also done a lot of work with SEL, and how do we have tier 1 SEL tier 1 curriculum, social emotional learning curriculum, and then what do we do when kids need more support at tier 2 and tier 3. And so this goal 1 is wrapped into goal 2, but it's this idea of how are we working on these systems, and you can read more about that in the actual district improvement plan itself. Goal 3, budgeting and equity, and you'll hear more about this from Pam and Gail and the team in our next meeting. But how do we implement strategic decisions, maintain our systems, and ensure we operate within our allocated budget? Some things we already have set up are monthly meetings with the town manager, quarterly reports to the school committee, staying within the guidelines. And then again, along with your budget directives, the idea of how do we assess what we need and build forward. And so we will obviously be thinking about all of that as it's tied into the budget directives as well. And so that is, hopefully they sound familiar, but those are our goals going forward. We would love, I'll entertain any questions, and I would love for you to embrace them and think about them as you enter into thinking about budget directives.
As you're getting ready to ask Ms. Andrews some questions, I just want to point out, so that was just, as she said, the 30,000 sort of overview. You do have the actual district improvement plan in your packet that you can take home, as well as look at, that has the goal, that has improvement benchmarks, strategies, and what the timeline looks like.
Do we approve this, or this is informational, right? Or do we vote?
I think you have approved it before, but I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. You have to, you are technically
School improvement
required to
plans, yeah.
improve the school improvement plans. I'm not sure up until maybe last year if the district had a district improvement plan.
I'm not sure we did.
But I think you accepted it last year.
Okay, thank you. Just purely technical.
Yep.
So
Good question.
as we did before, so we can stay focused and not jump around too much, we'll just go right back through in order. So if anyone has any questions, so we had 3 goals. Anyone have any questions on the first one, HQIM and equity?
I have a question on slide 3.
The
table.
Oh, sorry, on the table, you mean the MCAS?
Yes.
Sorry, we'll go back up. Questions on the MCAS table?
So slide 3, yes, there we go. So just a question, so the first column is how North Andover is doing, the last is the state. Is there value to, and if you do think there's value, how do we compare against our comparable districts? We have the concept of what are comparable, does that apply to this concept here? And if it does, have you run that?
I don't know if it does. I mean,
Okay.
we certainly can run it for you to look at that. I think that I've talked to you about this before. There's a difference between comparable districts in terms of finances and what the town looks like, and then aspirational districts in terms of what we aspire to in terms of our own progression. But we certainly could run it and see what it looks like.
So it might be interesting to see comparable and to kind of know budget, but then also if there's our aspirational, where are we against our aspirational districts? Maybe that's more kind of shows where we should go to. If you, and I'm truly asking the question, if you think there's value in that, I think it would be interesting to see
No,
where we're in those
absolutely.
aspirational ones. Okay.
The good news
Right.
is that all of this information is on the Department of Education's website, and anybody who wanted to do that could actually,
Could do that.
you know, if that's something I mean, we certainly can run it for you, but anybody who wants to compare us to any district, you can go and do that on the webpage.
And the districts most similar to us would probably surprise you. I feel like Bridgewater Raynham is the one that's most similar to us in size, demographics, but I don't think we ever think of that as a comparable district, if that makes sense. And so the state has tools where you can compare like similar district size and makeup, and then compare the
They give you-
results between those two.
They'll give us, actually, right in the thing, there's a button you can click for comparable communities, and when you do it by district, it'll give you the entire district, and then you can do it for just high school, and it'll even for elementary schools, will say, not just like other schools in North Andover, but like this particular school in wherever is very similar to the Thompson.
And then communities in the area, I think it's important to know like where we fall.
So can I ask a question on this chart and this very point? So I would be much more comfortable if there were also some longitudinal data. If, when, to the, as close as the MCAS reports officially come to longitudinal data is the growth factor, which is distinguished by the inability of almost anybody to explain how it's done.
So I want to make sure we're not talking about two different things. So you'll have a presentation on MCAS specifically in terms of our MCAS data. This slide was to show you that this was data that we looked at in determining our goals for this year.
Well, no, I don't want to, I'm not talking about presenting MCAS data. I'm suggesting that if you look at, this is all static data. You're taking the score at any one point in time and dividing it by something. And if you look, what the growth scores showed last year was that with the exception of 7th grade for some reason, in every other grade, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, a student in the North Andover system, when her score was compared to all the other students that had exactly the same score the previous year, she did less well here.
Right, so what I'm saying is that that's data that you know, it's data that we know, this is the data that Kristen's showing, but I don't know that that would change the goal. The goal would still be to increase. So I just want to be careful about what this presentation is, and so that we're talking about our district improvement goals.
So what I'm trying to say is that if you only understand the problem in terms of how our average scores compare, then there's something that we need to address. I don't mean to get into the data now, I just mean to say that it's certainly worrisome that as a general rule, as students come through our district, they move ahead more slowly than that exact same student would do anywhere else. And I think it's just,
the goals are centered around high-quality instructional material, the MTS, multi-systems, tiered systems of support, and budgeting, so that we're budgeting appropriately to meet the needs of our students. So I just want to bring that back to the public, so the public understands that we recognize that those are issues that you're saying, but these goals are developed to address those issues.
I guess what I'm saying is that at some point, I won't be happy with the measurement. We don't need to discuss that tonight unless it actually looks at how students move through.
I think the point of it, though, is it doesn't matter what the measurement is, we want to do better. That's the bottom line. We want to do better.
Yeah, and I think that you want to spend a little bit of time looking at the district improvement plan that's in your packet that has benchmarks. Again, this is a 30,000 overview to highlight the district improvement goals and looking at the improvement benchmarks for our students.
Thank you.
I had questions on this one too.
Sure.
On this slide. I guess observations, because I've looked at this data a lot too. But one thing is there some way we can look at the impact HQIM, MTSS has on this? Right? Is there research out there that might show us, hey, using HQIM improves, your assessments? Mm-hmm. That I think would be very valuable, right? Like we're spending this money and this effort on HQIM and MTSS. How does it affect performance? Mm-hmm. That would be, I think, very helpful.
I think it will be helpful.
Yeah.
I did participate in a webinar today from Desi, and Rob Curtin was talking about that, but also wanted to remind us that high-quality instructional materials have been slowly implemented into school districts. So being careful to understand that implementation takes time to see results. And so cautions districts and saying that HQMI is the result of improvement and/or not seeing improvement, so therefore it's not working. Like, you have to give it time, right? But I think that understanding what you're saying, but again, I want to just remind us that there will be an MCAS presentation that will go more in depth into MCAS. But I see what you're saying in terms of
Yeah,
that.
just tying the efforts we're making into this, and I'm assuming HQIM it wasn't invented yesterday, right? Like, there is to be some history somewhere. And the other observation too is just wondering if there's some opportunity to say, look at forgetting about comparable districts, who are the best districts out there, and is there something we can learn from them, right? Like, what are they doing in Lexington? I picked that one because I happen to know from a project I did with my business students looking at this stuff that they're ranked very highly in everything. Their numbers are way
They
higher.
also have a much larger budget.
Of course they do, but yeah, for sure.
And the students may probably start somewhat farther ahead because of the language they're exposed to. So not all of their high scores are the result of teaching.
Oh, and I don't-
Much of it is, but not all of it.
I'm just wondering if there's a collaborative opportunity there where we can say something that they're doing. Granted, they have more money to spend, and maybe we can afford it, maybe we can't. But what is it that they're doing that we could maybe
Yeah. I
learn from?
absolutely agree. And I think that was Ms. Cormier's point in term in looking at that. I'm just going to also remind you that Lexington came to North Andover to see what we were doing because we were doing it so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I want us to focus back in on the next couple chunks. So questions for the admin team for goal 1 around rigorous grade level learning experiences using high quality instructional materials when available.
I mean, it's slide 5 of the question.
Yep. So 4 or 5 or 6.
Are we going in any order, or?
Nope, just about that particular.
Well, I know, I didn't know
goal.
if you were, okay.
Ms. Sams, would you like to start?
No, so I just wanted to know, because we talk about implementing HQIM, and we've, brought in some really great programs recently, Eureka Squared, Investigating History. Are there other areas that maybe HQIM is not being implemented as strongly that we're looking on increasing over the next year?
Absolutely. So I think that ties into this slide with the idea that in K to 5 we have curriculum that's been adopted by you and in place. In 6 to 8 we have some in some subject areas. So for example, at the middle school we have not adopted an HQIM for science. So the work this year will be to look at the different ones, possibly pilot one, and have some sort of implementation process. And so science, and then at the high school they're available in ELA, math, science, not as much in social studies. And so we are following the trend of what's most available. But currently, like K to 5, most subjects, 6 to 8, we need to start a bit in science. Social studies, we have investigating history. ELA, we're doing a slow rollout of arts and letters. And so specifically, middle school would be science, high school would be ELA science and math. Thank
Ms.
you.
Cormier.
So it's kind of along that same line. Do you know roughly what percentage of our curriculum right now is HQIM?
Good question. Yeah, exactly. So K to 5, we are at 100%. So ELA and math. I'm going to start with ELA and math. We are at 100%. In the middle school, I would estimate between 40 and 50%, depending on what subject area, what grade level, and then how far the units have. Also, we've adopted curriculum that isn't completely in place yet, if that makes sense, because that takes time as well. We are just experimenting in the 9 to 12 level. So we have 3 or 4 teachers in English, science, and math trying out different HQIM. So 100, 40 to 50, not yet.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
And then one more question on the slide. So you said there's 2, which sounds fantastic. There's 2 sources of information for you to be able to determine if something is HQIM. Just curious, does the national and the Massachusetts findings typically agree? If they don't, which one do you?
Right.
Like more, right? Like, so they typically agree. Like, is there much debate on what HQIM is? How do you decide?
There really isn't a lot of debate,
Okay.
but the idea that, I'm sorry you can't see this, but the idea that standards alignment,
Slideshow.
so
No.
I know exactly, I'm like, this is not big enough, but standards alignment is pretty much determined by ed reports, like is that first column. So these are the 4 ways then what we like score, or that we don't, they score. And so Massachusetts focuses more on the last 2, classroom application, usability for teachers, and accessibility for students. But as far as like the national reports really are the ones that, are they aligned to the standards or not? And then some, as you can see, like no curriculum is perfect. Like there is no unicorn. We're looking for a strong horse. Like that's the, you know what I mean? That's like the curriculum speak for, there is no like Odell is the strongest one, the one that's in the middle there. And some of our high school teachers are trying that out. But of course, like you can see that there's accessibility and usability needs. That's what we need our teachers for, right? The idea that nothing's perfect. But those first 2 columns around standards alignment are pretty much determined nationally.
Okay, so you have to look at both to really get a full picture of what's going to work best.
And then Curate is actually, Massachusetts, as usual, is ahead of the curve. And that's the teachers sit on panels. And some of our teachers have sat on those panels.
At our 9th grade ELA, or ELA
Dr. Paradise.
Chair. Yes.
Jenny Paradise, our ELA department head, has sat on the Curate panel for ELA. And so those last 2 columns of like usability for teachers and students are probably more local than not. But no, there's not a lot of drama about it, to be honest. Like, you know what I mean? Usually the 2 organizations agree.
I was curious in terms, and this is, yeah, that goes here. For the subjects that don't yet have HQIM available, mostly social studies and science to some extent, what are we're in the experimenting stage. What other efforts are we making to make sure that the current things that teachers are doing are
Absolutely.
in fact also aligned to standards and are of high quality and grade appropriate.
So at the high school specifically, their goals for the end of the year are to have 3 common assessments in every course that happens. So that's not something we have in place yet, but the idea that you would have at least, we're going for 3, but at least a common midterm and a common final. If you're taking honors English 10, that there would be a common assessment at those 2, which then leads to in the courses, which leads to planning. When so working on common assessment, aligning courses. So each department, the entire middle school and the entire high school is working on the case for HQIM, like reading the research that we read at our retreat around why HQIM is a good idea. And then each department will really have their own trajectory depending on where they are in this phase. But for, social studies or history where there isn't a lot, like those departments, I'm encouraging those departments to use the K-12 curriculum guide from the Mass DESE and pull what you can from there. Democratic Knowledge Project, iCivics, like there are when there isn't HQIM, there are materials that are endorsed by the DESE in the state, and so we are pushing people in that direction.
Yeah. Sometimes for the social studies, it's only offered, there's great materials, but they're not comprehensive for an entire school year. So they don't cover all the standards, but they might be good for a portion of it, right? And that's just what I do every day. And then, I lost my second question. What are you using to calculate and compile all that data?
Kara.
Do we have are we using a, do we have a Kara?
Which model Kara do we have?
But do we have we don't have an online platform like Edulastic or Pear or whatever to do all that stuff?
So for Dibbles, we use the M-Class.
I meant for common assessments later on for the older kids.
We don't. What we found is that the systems that we've tried a bit with different systems, and we found that Kara has been able to develop our best systems right in-house. And so those have not extended up 6 to 12 yet. Most of that work is in K to 5 around Dibbles, MCAS, MAP, extended to 8 with MAP, but the systems that Kara has worked us through, thankfully with some help from Mr. Moskovich, have been the most effective uses of our time. So we use Amplify for M-Class, but we really have been home growing some systems that are better in K to 5 than they are in 6 to 8.
I was just wondering about how, if you have cross-common courses and kids doing it, how do you then collect all that and be able to disaggregate across all the different things and all the stuff.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wish I had that answer for you. We will.
Any other questions on goal number 1?
Well, I do. So, in the Special Ed Advisory Committee, we've divided into 2 subcommittees, and one is discussing how you change the general education classroom to make it better able to meet all children's needs, which is very similar to what we're talking about. This is Ms. Ando, Zora Warren, and me. And we seem to be pretty much in agreement on something that I think is pretty cool. And it is using the data that you just asked about, Joe. You can, in fact, trace student progress from fall to spring, and you can do it by teachers. And the results are informative, meaning some classes work really well, some don't. And what we've been thinking about is that eventually, and we can't do it now because it hasn't happened yet, but having the data that way is like it's going to put together a kind of an agenda for not so much evaluation but walkthroughs, lead to a process where the leadership of the district will start thinking about why do some classes work better than others. And this relates to something that I've learned over the years. There's nothing in this plan that I disagree with. But I'm not sure, I think there's something else, like how well teachers teach, or not so much how almost every teacher whose classroom I've ever visited is working very hard and doing very well what she set out to do or what she believes she needs to do. But, blame this ultimately on the teacher colleges. A lot of teachers never were presented all the elements of high expectation instruction. And this data will be kind of helpful in laying out places in the district which are doing very well, like our kindergarten, and places which need help. And I don't mean to say that this needs to change the plan, but part of the plan should be, where do we need to be working on professional development?
I think, again, that when you look at the plan, that when you look at this packet, that gives you some of that information. So if you're thinking about goal one of the strategies is principals participate in professional learning arc and subsequent class visits that will support increased abilities to provide meaningful instructional feedback to teachers. So that is embedded in a lot of the work that's happening. And this, again, this has more of the details of these goals.
No, I agree, because when you start talking about professional development, which is in here, that is what you're talking about. I wasn't criticizing, but I was just saying that HQIM is a necessary step, but it's not by itself
It's
a
not
sufficient
everything.
step.
No, absolutely, I agree. What we're working on to put both of your questions together is that, so Pam and I have scheduled learning walks with principals. I'm going twice a month, Pam's going at least once a month. And what my curriculum team currently is working on is a way to collect that data across classrooms. So which indicators line up with our strategic plan, and how can we measure how those things are working. For example, one indicator could be the lesson is aligned to the grade level appropriate standard. Maybe yes, maybe no. And so the idea that we could collect that information over time. And so Kara and Joe on our curriculum team are working on developing that system for collecting. But the idea that we could all work with each other to visit classrooms and do that. But no, HQIM is a really good beginning. It's certainly not the end.
Yeah, still need good teachers. And I would caution you, Mr. Moskovich, I think we have a lot of really wonderful teachers who work very hard and actually are being quite effective in our classroom, and we know that kids are changing at the same time quite rapidly. And the things that I did a couple of years ago with my kids worked very well, and they were successful. And and that continuous growth is really, really important. But we have a lot of wonderful teachers who have worked very hard and are very capable in their areas. And I would not want to suggest at all that they haven't learned how to do their job well.
I never said that, Mr. Chairman. I specifically said that almost every teacher I've ever seen works hard and cares about her children.
And they do their job well.
I agree with that. Well,
That
They
was
do-
lacking. I just want to make sure that gets said, because we have 400 people that work in our district that are working very hard and they do their job well, and we all have ways to grow, and that's what the data is designed to help us do, is to grow. And we also don't want to ever assume that they aren't doing that. I felt like that was.
You're knocking down a straw man. I mean, I didn't say what you're implicitly criticizing me for saying.
I think that was part of what you were saying before, and if that wasn't your intent, then I misunderstood. But it felt a little off to me, so I wanted to say that. Moving on to goal number 2.
Sorry, I think our student.
Oh, well, it's not particularly a question, but if I can just add quickly as my perspective as a North Andover
Please
High
do.
student, in AmThought, which is under the English department, we have these calendars set up. We have the of our assignments, and HQIM is all over the paper. And I just think it just really reminded me of it. And I just wanted to note that a lot of times the teachers are throwing it out there that we're trying this new thing, and the students are sometimes confused by that. But now that I have not a deeper understanding, but learning more about this and listening to you talk about it, I'm really excited to bring it back to my classmates and my friends, and it gives me a better motive to see where this goal takes us and really improve on how we're working this year. So I'm really excited for that.
Thank you for sharing that.
That's awesome.
Cool to hear.
If you don't mind, if I share a story that I think goes along with that. So when we got the initial grant for Wit and Wisdom, we had a consulting team that came in to be sure that we spent the money appropriately, for lack of a better word. And when the consulting team came in and we started with HQIM, I told the consulting team that our 5th graders were really going to struggle because they hadn't had 1st through 4th grade of Wit and Wisdom. And then my principals told the consultants that the 5th graders were going to struggle. And then the teachers told the consultants that the 5th graders were going to struggle. And then the teaching assistants told the 5th graders were going to struggle. And the only group of people that didn't tell the consultants that they were struggling were the 5th graders. They did not express. They were like, no, this is good. We're really learning about the Civil War. It's great. You know what I mean? And so we sometimes as adults are like, this is different. This is hard. And the students are like, oh. And they, you know what I mean? And but the only group that didn't tell us they were struggling were the 5th graders. And so thank you. That just reminded me of that story, and it reminded me of why we do this work. So thank you, my friend. Appreciate you.
What's the
There's an
unit you're doing?
interesting lesson in that, actually, which is students are capable of more than most people realize.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you find ways of, I don't mean pushing, but expecting more from them, they do.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, it's actually kind of a virtuous circle. Teachers are happier, kids are happier. I like the way you put it, though, that I never thought about it, that the kids weren't actually struggling.
Mm-hmm.
But often when you, and I think this happened in a couple of visits here, you find teachers saying, I had no idea my children can do this. And that's why it's not that they aren't working hard, and it's not that they don't care about their kids, but if they had no idea children could do something, then you need to help them see what's possible, and far from making teachers unhappy, you make them much happier.
Because kids change, the material changes, the world changes. And so to Mr. Hicks's point, that things change. And so I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. And I apologize that I do have to slip out.
That's okay.
Definitely.
I'm glad you stayed and contributed.
Yeah,
Please
thank-
do
yeah.
more of it.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Keep HQIMing. Go ahead.
That was really good to hear.
Questions on goal number 2?
Yes.
What's the goal? Multi-tiered system of support and equity.
I could use a reference for lack of a better word,
I got one.
MTSS 101. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I
So I'm going to quote Katie Novak, who's a educational guru. But so if we're going to talk about going to the dentist, okay? So the idea that everybody goes to the dentist. You have to get your cleaning. You have to floss your teeth. You have to brush your teeth. That's tier 1.
Right.
If you have to have a cavity filled, you still go to the dentist. You still go to tier 1. You still have your work in your classroom, but you may go and have a cavity filled by your dentist or possibly by somebody else, and that's tier 2. Some people that's enough, and other people might need like
crown.
oral surgery or a crown, right? And sometimes your dentist does that, but sometimes you go to somebody different.
A root canal.
And so if you could take the dentist analogy, but the really important part is you keep going to the dentist, you keep brushing your teeth, which is why like tier one is like the toothbrushing and flossing.
It's the
of
fundamentals.
Everybody needs it. And even if you have other things, even if you have crowns and root canals and everything else, you still have to keep brushing your teeth, and your dentist should be acutely aware of what's going on in those other tiers. So, but it's this idea that a child could float between those three very fluidly throughout a day, throughout a week, throughout a semester, and get support from different people in the building.
So I don't want this to take too much time, but I would love to know, like, how an example of something, say, in a fourth grade classroom. I'm just picking that one out of the air, right? A fourth grade classroom, a student who needs tier 3. What does that look like? You know, like, is that a reading interventionist? Is it a math interventionist? Like, what? Just one example like that, I think, would be really helpful for me, anyway, in understanding this.
Sure. It could be lots of different things. And so that the idea that I will go, so tier 1 would be that student would still have access to their Wit and Wisdom curriculum. They would still study and read and listen to everything else that the other fourth graders were listening to. They could partake in the curriculum.
Okay.
And then a tier 2 support could be within or outside of the classroom in a small group. And sometimes tier 2 is just smaller group, more time, more intensity. So let's say they're working on, I'm going to pull like prefixes and suffixes, like there are some sort of word analysis skill. And maybe in a tier 2 group that they've gotten like, some extra support from the teacher in a small group around prefixes and suffixes.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that instruction has not worked. Then they may see somebody who has they could see the teacher again, independent, like alone, again, smaller group, more intensity, more time, or they could see somebody who has a specialty in being able to teach a Wilson reading or a Just Words, like a different curriculum. Am I missing anything? Newly adopted director of special education. But the idea that and sometimes it's just the idea of needing like more time, more intensity, more exposure. It's not always that you need something completely different.
Okay.
And so it's like the idea that like sometimes you go to a more specialized person, but sometimes you just do more work with your classroom teacher in a smaller group for more amounts of time. I'm trying to like make an athletic example that might make more sense, right?
It's living within that grade level curriculum. So I think that some of the things that maybe happened before, like when I was teaching, we'll say, if a student left the classroom to receive instruction because their reading level was needed some support, they may not be participating in the classroom lesson that I was giving. But what's happening now is they're participating in their classroom level at that fourth grade level in terms of hearing and participating in the conversation, listening to that work. And they're getting that specialized instruction that they need in order to work on their reading skills.
So to implement that, does the classroom teacher kind of have like a chart of how, I mean, they must be able to organize their time so that can happen, right?
And those are things that we're working on in this process. So the idea that we're trying to build blocks, you heard about the student success time at the middle school,
yes,
which is like a time, or we call it win what I need at the middle school, at the elementary school. We've built in an amount of time so that students can get those sort of small group interactive services at a time of day so that they're not, like Pam said, that they're not missing
the main lesson or whatever.
And that's something in development. That's something it's like a system and a structure in this process, so that, because otherwise the teacher wouldn't necessarily have the time, the support, or the ability to plan that small group while everyone else was still, in the classroom with them. And so the idea that like we've baked things into the day.
Got it.
In order. And again, it's absolutely, that's why it's a goal. It's absolutely in its development. I'm not saying.
And then someone has to schedule when they really need the intense work for tier 3, right? Which would be the root canals, because of the analogy. But
right. Mm-hmm.
That has to be scheduled too, right? Because you need to get other people involved for that, right?
Right. And the goal is that though your classroom teacher is working with your reading specialist and or your special education provider, if they're in one of those tiers, so they're not working independently of each other, as just like the dentist, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
very good analogy.
Thank you.
Kate Novak. I'm like, I wish I would totally
Yeah.
take credit and say thank you if it was mine. But like,
And we
I'll
have-
send you like a YouTube. It's the idea, but like we've always thought that like once you have the root canal, educationally, we used to stop sending the kid to the dentist. I don't know if that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I understand.
once you need it, you never, like, you missed the instruction and the benefits of your peers in the general classroom, and you went and did something totally separate and different. But the idea that, like, we still need to, that's why Tier 1 has to be so good, because everybody needs it.
No, that was very helpful, thank you.
If this example would answer David's question, this is someone I've worked with in the past who is working in high schools. And the insight is that some high school students cannot read 9th or 10th grade level text. But are, oh, I'm sorry, but they're perfectly capable of understanding the ideas. And so she's trying to figure out a way of either presenting the same 10th grade material written at a 7th grade level and or accelerating their ability to read more complex text. Is that, but I think
That's why she needs high-quality instructional materials, so the students have an access point.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that. I was just trying to
Yes,
see if
expand
that's
on the-
an example of what you mean by support.
Okay.
Yes.
To do the MTSSS, are we aligning schedules across the elementary schools so we can make better and more efficient use?
So our K-5 schedules are aligned, not like the idea that everyone has the same structure, where there's a win block that doesn't overlap with other blocks. And where we're running into trouble is that sometimes we can't always give teachers like a common planning time because just of the way sometimes we have groups of 3 instead of 4 or 2. And so, but it's a work in progress. But part of this system, so much of it is putting the structure in place of like, here's the schedule, here's what it looks like. We've done work to the middle school schedule in ways because of budget as well, and in ways of budget cuts, but the idea that like, how do we design this block to also be able to fit some of these needs? It's not ideal, none of it's ideal, but the idea that like we're working, what'd you say?
You should put that in here.
I will. Okay, put it in here. Got it. Schedule, structure.
I think those are good
will
things,
do.
right? If you go back and you look at this larger plan and you see
Yes.
those pieces are missing, that's some things to add to Ms. Ando. I don't want to, all these questions and conversations are very good questions and conversations, but I worry sometimes, and just maybe interjecting, maybe I shouldn't, but I worry sometimes that we lose the purpose of the presentation, which is on these are goals for the district that we're considering. These are our district improvement goals, and why, and we want everyone to be very focused on it. And the reason I'm bringing that back is I believe, and I spoke about this last year, that when we want to advocate for more for our students, we want to directly look at what are our district improvement goals so that we can advocate that these are the goals that we're looking for. They match with school improvement plans, they match up with our MCAS data. So I just want to make sure that when the public is sort of looking at this, that they focus on our district improvement goals. I think I'm a little off, but I'm hopefully people understand what I'm trying to say.
Any more questions on goal number 2? Thank you. Goal number 3?
Goal number 3, I would just kind of checking and making sure that this also meets the terms of the MOA that we have with the town, because there are a few things baked into that MOA that say we have to do them by the end of 2 years, and that's going to be in this school year, like August 2026. There's a few extras baked in there that we probably need to make sure that we're targeting for this year.
Absolutely.
Yep. I also want to just remind you that these are educational goals. So this comes from the Office of the Teaching and Learning, and that MOA is probably more of a financial situation. Not that the two things are separate, but these goals are based on educational needs of our students. So in terms of our budgeting, that we are budgeting for the educational needs of our students, as opposed to the way that we report finances and the way that we report to the town is different from our our district improvement goals. Am I articulating that so that you understand?
No, I do. But so we'll catch those somewhere else. It wouldn't be here.
Right.
Those will be somewhere else
Correct.
to make sure we meet
Correct.
the MO. Because we've got to hold ourselves accountable
I don't want our
too.
education,
Okay. I understand
I
what
don't
you're
want the education of our students and what we're projecting or what we're saying that we need for our students to be holden to an MOA. And that's coming out wrong too. It's 9, I always say I'm not really any good after like 8 o'clock.
Are
But-
you suggesting that our goals are our goals, and we're not going to overspend our budget, but we're not going to limit our
But
goals?
this isn't about our budget. This
That's
is about
well, right.
advocating for the needs of our
So
students.
one outcome of this is we may say that, given our goals, our budget going forward isn't enough, and here's exactly why it's not enough. Is that kind of what you're
Pretty much,
getting at?
yes. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. So mine just wanted tactfully making sure that we do the things that we say we're going to do in the MOA is separate from this. I saw the budgeting
Very
that got
separate.
wrapped up. Okay. Okay.
I
Got it.
want to be clear that, that the Office of Teaching and Learning is about moving our children forward and meeting the educational needs of our students, and that my job, the Director of Finance's job, is in terms of keeping the ship hopefully sailing right, and spending our money the way that we say that we're going to spend our money, and or reporting if we have to go, why we're going over, and then making some very hard decisions. But I want the director, I want the Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning in this district to tell us what our students need in order to make progress and not feel tied by a certain dollar amount.
And I think we talked about this, you know, when we were talking about the budget and how we could survive on what we had, that you felt that we could meet our goals under this budget that we have now. Do you still feel like we can sufficiently meet our goals within this budget, the district goals?
Yes and no. I think we have to think very differently about what we're doing, if that made sense. Like the idea that, like, you know, I don't think it's just about like putting numbers of FTE or putting numbers of full-time employees back. I think we have to think really hard about what we're doing with kids, how we're investing in the time, how we're making the schedule. So I'm sorry, that's not like a super concrete answer, but I feel like yes and no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like this year is a good time. And again, based on the past 2 years we have, it's hard not to include a goal around budget. You'll see our school improvement plans don't include one, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It seems at this level, like we have to talk about budget, but the idea that our principals will have their third goal won't be tied necessarily to budget. But so my answer to you would be yes and no, and I think we're learning a lot about what's working, what's not working, and what we possibly might need.
So just to kind of understand that a little bit more, are you feeling our goals for the year, the district goals for the year, are you feeling that it's constrained by any way by the budget?
Good question. I guess I would write, so down at the bottom, there are outcomes. And so I feel like so I tried to be realistic and aggressive in our outcomes. So for example, goal number 2, and what I did is I narrowed goal number 2. So the entire goal number 2 is about MTSS, but my goal would be 85% of grade K to 2 students will meet the end of the year composite benchmark for students on the DIBELS. Sorry about that. So the DIBELS, according to our reading assessment, like our K to 2 students. So although it's a district-wide goal, I would like to narrow down this very specific where I feel like we've gotten a lot of work done. If I had an unlimited budget, that outcome might be a K to 8 outcome or a K to 12 outcome as far as, so I guess I can't answer that question that like, no, I don't feel limited by budget at all. I feel like we can set some realistic, aggressive goals within this. If we wanted our outcomes to be more, we would have to look differently at the budgeting numbers. I feel like we can accomplish this given the resources that we have.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions?
Well, I would just say that it's not a question, and I'm pleased, but that's a very ambitious goal. So good for you.
Trying to
But
be
we should understand
ambitious.
that you could fall short of this and still have done a spectacular job.
Yes.
This is going to take more than 1 year. But it's good that I mean, that's the right kind of goal.
Yeah.
And actually, that's consistent with what we were saying about kids can do more than we thought.
Realistic but aggressive.
And if you looked at last year's goals, as Ms. Andrews said when she started, these are similar, because just of what you said, things are going to take more than 1 year.
Alrighty, so we're moving on to superintendent goals.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Ando. Before you start, Ms. Lathrop, I'm just glancing through these, and they are structured very similarly to what all educators in the district go through. So it's typical that educators will have a professional practice goal. They will have a student learning goal. And in my district, we have a student impact goal, but yours is a strategic planning goal. But that is a fairly normal way for us to think about. Yeah, I like it. Student impact goal. But this is a fairly normal way for us to think about education goals. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But that is a normal process. And so why don't you walk us through what you would like to do this year?
Sure. So the committee has the goals. This is a draft. It says draft on there. So I'm looking for feedback, not necessarily tonight, but I'm happy to take feedback tonight. But you might want to take this home and digest it, and feel free to send me information or send me things that you want to include. And so you have the packet that explains explains the goal, the action steps, the benchmarks, indicators of success. And then I also included for you the DESE standards and indicators. I think one of the things that the committee found challenging last year was, in terms of doing my evaluation, there were there's so many things on those rubrics. So I'm sharing with you the ones that I am planning, that I believe my goals connect to, and that when it comes time for you to evaluate me, then those are the ones that you can focus on. And then certainly, obviously, if there's ones I miss and you'd like me to look at, then we certainly can talk about that. The slide is just a kind of a 30,000 overview, because I wanted the public to have something to see as I was talking to the committee a little bit about this. So I have included 4 goals here tonight. So 2 of them, as Mr. Hicks said, you have a professional practice, which is what we ask our educators to do, and a student learning goal. And then I have 2 goals that come out of the district improvement plan, sort of based on some of the things that sort of make connections to the district improvement plan, I think will help support that. If you want to go to the next slide. My first goal, the professional practice goal, is really about my engagement with the community. So I belong to, as you heard the last time we were here, I'm engaging in the new superintendent induction program, sometimes known as NSIP. I will continue in the organization called Leading Now, which I started with last year, which is a national organization that allows me to to work with and consult with superintendents across the nation, and have consultants and coaches through there, giving very timely information to me. And then also collaboration with the Merrimack Valley Superintendent Association, which we meet monthly with. What I'm proposing is, through this goal, these professional learning communities, it's going to help refine my skills in strategic communication, community engagement, building trust with our stakeholders, and this is going to accelerate my work as a superintendent and strengthen relationships across North Andover. What that relates to, or those are the DESE standards that it relates to. In your packet, you have action steps, what that would look like. You have a benchmark, so I've proposed for you what a mid-cycle, so when we do mid-cycle review, and what an end-of-cycle review would look like. Indicators of success, so these are the things I think would indicate there was success, and then again, the DESE standards. So just as an example for the community, mid-year, I would present to the community documentation of participation. I have my own reflection notes that I've taken during that time, and applied learning and communications. So if I'm looking for more transparency or strengthening relationship, hopefully those would be some things you'd be able to see. And then in terms of end of the year cycle, expanded engagement with the communities, communications that I have had. So I listed it as a communication portfolio, but that's evidence of the work that I'm hoping to do. And stakeholder feedback that's showing hopefully the stakeholders will show that there's trust and transparency. Do you want me to go through every goal, or do you want to pause?
Why don't we pause?
Oh, you want to pause, and are there any questions on professional practice?
I have one.
Sure.
Quick suggestion, maybe include, I know you're doing an entry plan,
Yes, and I meant to include that, and I forgot, so thank you so much for telling me that.
because that will be good evidence of you doing
What
the
plan,
thing.
Joe?
An entry plan.
I have an entry plan. I've actually already written it. That's part of the work that I have to do through NSIP, the new superintendent induction program, was write an entry plan.
I'm sorry, an entry into
An entry
what?
plan into the job. So it.
You're
I
doing
think,
awfully well.
Thank you very much. I
You're already there.
Yes, I think as Jane Tremblay, my coach, last time said that it's a little awkward for me because I feel like I've had 18 years at this, but I had a full year last year, and sort of my entry plan sort of started, but I memorialized it into paper, and I will share that with you in this goal as well.
This is a small point, but I really appreciate your limiting this, because when we had the trouble you mentioned of all the goals, I went up and read Desi's instruction, and they said to do exactly what you've just done. They said, you can't do all these. I felt much better because we couldn't. And so for you to kind of highlight them, that's exactly that's very helpful indeed. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, great. Student learning goal. So the student learning goal is going to during this year, I'm going to prioritize and support the district-wide implementation and effective use of high-quality instructional materials. This should come as no shocker to anybody based on some of the things we've heard and done already. But this will be across all grade levels and content areas. This is ensuring educators receive the necessary professional learning and coaching to internalize this information that they're hearing and then to deliver HQIM with fidelity. I think I was so pleased to hear what Han had to say, and that the teachers are putting this on the work that they're doing with their students at the high school. Many of you participated this summer in their kickoff event with the middle school and high school in terms of high quality instructional material, and so really making sure that this is going from pre-K to 12. And then again, on here, I listed, help strengthen our instructional coherence and monitor the impact of high-quality instructional material on student engagement and achievement. And I think that speaks to what Mr. Brown was saying, how do we know this is working?
Right.
Again, I have benchmarks for you for mid-cycle, so that would be our professional development. I listed completed. It may not be completed, but we have started, as I mentioned in my superintendent report, we've started professional development for our special education teachers with the Hill for Literacy. We have an upcoming course for our first grade teachers on the science of reading, so to be able to give you impact on that.
When do they, this is not just one PD session?
This is not just one PD session. So the session that the special education teachers have started, we have coupled that with the early release days. Is that correct, or is that something different?
No, we have in the morning for 3 sessions, and then the 4th session, it was coupled with the educator collaboration afternoon meeting, and we'll be meeting from 1 to 3:30.
Yep.
And
The science
literacy,
of
the
science
same
of
thing?
reading. The science of reading is we will be pulling the teachers out of their classroom to be able to go to this. It is one of those hard things, right? Because you want to say that you want your educators within the classroom with your teachers, but we also want to give our educators time to learn this. And this is hard work. It's really close to,
And it works a whole lot better if a whole bunch of them do it all at once, so I think you're right.
they're going together and then
Yes,
having time to implement
right,
it into their
good.
classroom.
Yeah.
And we'll have follow-up coaching in between.
Right. What's a PLC?
Professional learning community. Sorry. I will say that on the school improvement plans, I did not take my own advice, but on the school improvement plans, I asked all of the principals to make a legend for you if they use things like, PLC and whatever, but I did not, as my mother used to say, do as I say, not as I do, kinds of things.
That's funny. My father used to say that too. Oh, he had a variant of it, which is, don't be confused. Listen to what I meant. Don't be confused by what I actually said.
I like that. So that's student learning goal. I'm happy to answer anything.
Great. Finance.
And then moving into the improvement plans. So the first one focuses on finance and budgeting. I will say this is in collaboration with our school finance director. She and I are going to ensure regular and consistent reporting to the school committee of the FY26 budget while leading the district in strategic planning for FY27. As you've heard, we've already started thinking about FY27 and the work that we need to do there. This includes providing transparent updates, monitoring our expenditures, forecasting future needs, and accurately presenting the district's financial position and resource requirements to support student learning. So the action steps, I do ask that you take a little look at that. So what I'm proposing is that the finance director will prepare and present quarterly budget updates. And we will monitor the FY26 expenditures. You can continue to read that on your own. But if there's any concern about that, I'd like you to feel free to bring that forward.
A couple comments.
Yes.
One, in general, in terms of the updates, I would like quarterly feels a little too long. I know there's an appropriate time for you to start, and I think it's next month. Based on kind of what what school districts do, next month is a reasonable time to start. But I would ask that those are monthly and not quarterly. And I would also suggest for the action steps, there's so many things in that MOA, but that I think that some say school, some say administration, some say the school committee are responsible for. And Joe, I'm not sure, or just Chairman Hicks, we probably need to have, we need to live up to our side of the MOA, because the school committee has some things that we're supposed to be doing too. But that make sure that these action steps have all of those, because that there's only a year left on that MOA, and there's things that we said we would do one-time acts that would be done in that 2 years. So
great, it's a great suggestion.
I also support the monthly reporting, at least until we feel confident that we don't need it anymore. At some point, we hopefully won't need it and go to quarterly, but I think right now it would be good to get into that cadence.
Well, I agree as well, but I think you've been doing it monthly, haven't you?
Up until we have been doing it monthly. In my goals, I am proposing a quarterly update. I fully expected that you would say monthly, but
you gotta try.
She said monthly, I would have said every meeting.
You should have said twice yearly.
Good negotiation tactic. I admire that.
It worked.
Mine was going to be like, when we say quarterly, that's once, like 4 times per year. I was going to push towards like just 4 times during the school year. So, but I'll leave the rest of the committee to.
Because we commit in the MOA, we committed the school committee to seeing it monthly, right? Because it says that we'll get the reports that go monthly to the town. So we are saying we're getting them anyway, so we should have them here.
Well, we were getting them last year, pretty close to that.
giving them monthly. Yes, and I think that they're going to look. I mean, you'll still get the same. I think you're going to get more information this year. I think it's going to look different. I think that having Ms. Dowd here with us and having some opportunity for her to present and share with you the information and you to ask questions, I think is going to look a little different. I think the MOA is to keep the select board and the finance committee apprised of what's happening. I did send them a monthly report for September. It doesn't have financials in it, but it very much outlines the same things that I said in my statement last week or 2 weeks ago at the school committee in terms of while I didn't have financials for them, I did share with them that we've already started meeting with the finance, with the town. The two finance teams already have started their meetings. We have those all aligned in the calendar for the year. Gail Dowd is meeting monthly with all of the cost centers. So I did outline that, as well as I shared with both boards the hiring that we had over the summer in terms of who we brought in, who exited, and what the net loss was for the district.
I also think as we go into this new budgeting process that we're implementing, that's going to come naturally. We're going to have to see where we are compared to where we want to be. I think that's just going to be part of the process that we're going to get that.
And I was like, there's going to be some, I don't have the better term right now, but there's going to be some lumps and bumps as we look at I'm anticipating in the first round of looking actuals to budget, you are making fundamental changes to better the school system and for our for our kids, and there's going to be, but if we start to see that, we can kind of look at it and go from there.
I think what I hope the financials show you this year is that we are spending in the rate what we anticipated spending, and that we forecasted correctly in terms of what our expenditures are. Now, whether or not that says, do we want to spend more? Like, that would be different. That's FY '27, me saying to you, I want to spend more. My goal is when I come here, we're spending what we said we were gonna spend, and our salaries match that. It is one of the reasons why I've pushed to go to an October reporting, because if you remember last year, we started off by showing those, and we hadn't encumbered a lot of the things, and it gave false information in terms of, it was looking at, not false, but it maybe gave us some hopeful that we had more money than we thought we did. So I want to be able to present the committee with accurate data. And then where the hard decisions may come in is if we're not where we say we are, but we have a commitment to keep that dollar amount, whether or not it means, do we look at some of the reserves that might be optioned, and whether or not we're going to ask to be able to use some of that again, or do we have to make an adjustment in our system this year? And we'll face that when we get there, if we get there.
Have you encumbered, you must by now have encumbered quite a bit.
That's what we're working on. That's why you
Good.
haven't seen something
Right.
yet.
So I take it, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that the goal is that a fairly early time we will have encumbered.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
To the extent it's possible, and it should be somewhat possible now, because we have been keeping better records for the past year plus, can we see comparisons at least to what the data we have? In other words, where were we last year at this time, kind of thing? If that's not a big ask, if it's a big ask, then don't do it.
Last year we were in.
You're in a big hole.
Well, I mean, spending.
Last year's budget, okay, I
Spending,
think I know what you're
you know
saying.
what I mean? Not.
Yeah, and I
not-
guess that sort of is where the difference is
Yeah.
between monthly reporting, where you get the sort of down and dirty, like here's where we are, and then there's the quarterly reporting that maybe could look slightly different in terms of that. We spent this amount on substitutes last year at this time, here we are now,
That's
we
what I
spent
mean.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing, right?
It wasn't. I wasn't
Those, I
asking
think, are
you-
two different things.
Yes.
Yeah, but just because it would help us as a board, right, to see if are we tracking to last year, are we better, are we worse? I just think that's useful information at this level, because it's sort of the canary in the coal mine, right?
Yeah.
If things are heading in the wrong direction and you see it early, you can react better.
Right, and then you're also going to see that in the budget presentation moving forward for FY 27. So you're going to see that, we're going to make recommendations in that budget based on now 2 years of data.
Okay.
David, salaries are a huge portion of the budget, and ideally, pretty early in the school year, you know what they are, you encumber them, and it's actually literally impossible to spend the money on something else. So, you're not inappropriately, but you're concentrating on the few things that it's hard to encumber because they vary, like, how much overtime does the principal ask teachers to use?
I think what Mr. Brown's asking is like, what did we spend on transportation in 2024? What did we spend on transportation in 2025? So what's the difference between that?
Right, because
Or
if
what
that's.
did we spend on,
Perfect example, actually.
Yeah.
Because if that's heading strongly the wrong way, then you can do something about it, right? Because you now know it in October rather than in April, right?
Well, can
Correct.
you encumber transportation, or is it?
no, so we're talking about two different things. We're talking about a monthly report where
Right.
you would see like checks and balances, right? And then we're talking about forecasting, or we're talking about preparing for FY '27 budget, where you get to see, this is what we spent 2 years ago, this is what we spent this year, and was this year enough? And
Right.
here's what we have, and we'll look at our contracts that we're already in, and the contracts are saying this, but we need one more bus, because this year didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it didn't work, but I'm just using
Right.
that as an example.
I was focused on the former there, like how are we
Understood.
tracking against
Yep.
right?
So-
Do we see any danger, basically? Or, wow, are we ahead, man?
So, Chairman Hick, just as a separate item, could we, for an agenda item for next week, could we consider reviewing the MOA and just making sure we as a school committee are living up to?
Yeah.
All right, okay, thank you.
I'll include it, I'll reread it, include
Okay.
it in my chair's report that we have done these things and we need to do these things. Yeah. I'll give a status update on that. Yeah. Anything else on finance and budgeting goal? And lastly, strategic planning goal.
Lastly, strategic planning goal. So
We need one.
We do need one. So during this year, we're going to partner. I say I will, but really the district is partnering with a consultant, Teaching and Learning Alliance (TLA). They're going to help us in the development of our 5-year strategic plan for North Andover Public Schools. This plan will be our guiding principles. It'll establish initiatives and a map of trajectory of progress grounded in data to support the district community in accomplishing its mission, core values, and vision. The plan will be aligned to the portrait of a graduate or the vision of a graduate, so that there is some coherence between those two documents. So this is a company that we'll be working with. There will be surveys. We'll have a committee, a strategic planning committee that will be established. We'll have surveys, we'll have focus groups. Those focus groups will be in-person and virtual. We'll have listening sessions to gather information. TLA will help us analyze that data. They'll identify themes and some priorities, but they don't tell you what your strategic plan is. They just help to organize, just what I said. And it gives us some, which was one of the reasons why we liked working with this. That's why we're saying that this is the company we'd like to move forward with. We'll come out with measurable outcomes, and then present the final strategic plan to the school committee and the community for adoption. So you'll see things like agendas, notes, membership list. There will be a lot, and we'll talk a little bit more about this once we have a firm contract with them to get that information out, what that will look like. But we need to know, I think, you, Mr. Hicks, Chairperson Hicks, said that we have been sort of moving forward the strategic plan that we've had, and I think we heard from the community last year when we were working on the budget of let's plan 5 years out, what do we want to see our community, and we want to bring in the voices, and we want to give an opportunity for everybody's voice to be heard.
We heard that often, or I heard it several times
Yep.
in community chats.
Yep.
So, yeah, so I'm really happy to see that. That's great.
And just, will that take the full year? I'm saying that's a lot of work. Is
It'll
that a
take
full
probably
year?
the full
Okay.
year.
I'm surprised it's only going to take till.
We're a little bit behind the 8 ball. Some of that is just where we are, so it might trickle in, but that's the plan.
So who on the team sort of does that for you day to day?
Does what?
The strategic planning, working with TLA and.
So we
including
haven't
us?
begun, we haven't started our work with them, but once we finalize our contract with them, then we'll have a strategic planning committee that they will come in and meet with, and then they will help us develop the surveys, develop the focus groups, plan for those. They will run them for us so that there's some impartial people that are gathering the data as opposed to like me gathering the data or other people. But they bring people to us.
I guess what I'm worried about is getting to the point where you need to work 26 hours every day.
Well, that's why I'm hiring TLA. To be honest with you, I mean, I think it's it's really what I said there in terms of the fact that they're going to collect the data, they'll analyze the data, they'll identify the themes and the priorities, and then it's our decision on how we are going to write that out into a 5-year plan. But it's that doing that, bringing us that work, what they get from across the community.
And I guess that I was thinking about, who does that? I mean, ultimately you, but,
Who does what?
well, sort of taking their basic
The plan-
recommendations and
the
thinking
committee,
about.
the strategic planning committee. The committee will take the data and the themes and the priorities, and they will help us. They will support us through that, but they're not going to write a 5-year plan for us.
Okay.
Any other questions for Superintendent Lathrop?
Thank you for putting this together. There, you can tell a lot of thought and care went into this. It's clear, it's aspirational, very clear benchmarks, so I really appreciate what you put into this. Thank you.
Yes.
I think we all struggled a little bit last year with the evaluation and what that looked like, and I like order, and I get a sense that you all like order, so I think this helps sort of define where we're going.
As Mr. Moskovich said before, and I appreciate the indicators being indicated, and then when we do our evaluation, like they suggest, like you only do a few of them, and like knowing what they are is quite nice. And I do appreciate that you're You're aligning to what everyone else in the district has to do with
I'm gonna say,
theirs.
this is what we ask teachers to do. We
Yeah.
ask teachers to do these two the same goals, and we ask teachers to align it to the standards, and we ask teachers to show us what the evidence is going to be, so why would I be any different?
Thank you. We have to accept those next.
Next week, so I will take some of the comments, and after you go and read them more thoroughly, if you'd like to send me an email, either to me or to, I would just ask if you want to send it to me, that's great, but if you would include Michelle, just in case I miss something, she is very good at catching that, either to her or to the superintendent email. She's great at doing that.
Which is the same thing in effect.
It's her, yes. She monitors the superintendent email. If you send something to, just it's good for anybody to know, if you send something to lathrop@northandoverpublicschools.com, it comes exclusively to me. No one else has access to that email except for me. If you send something to superintendent@North Andover Public Schools, Michelle, my administrative assistant, does monitor that email for me.
Well, that's very helpful, thanks.
Communications 2, public comment. Member comment.
I have, okay,
Anyone?
2 things. One, first off, I just want to say how excited I am about this MIVA thing. I'm just like, I know I'm from a different generation, but I remember like taking the bus like to the mall or to McDonald's or whatever in middle school, and it was just such a thrill for me. One, to like know I have some of that independence and to just understand public transportation. So it's such a great opportunity for our students. I'm so excited about it. I also wanted to comment on the open houses. Did the elementary at Thompson with Mr. Moskovich, and it was so exciting to sit and see the teachers present the curriculum and how excited they were about it, and telling the parents like what your child is going to learn this year is going to build on in 2nd grade, and it's going to build on in 3rd grade, and they having them see it all come together, and that passion and excitement for it was amazing. So I loved that, and knowing like what we're doing here and what we're talking about and seeing it in real life it's incredible. Third thing is I want to see if committee members can get name tags for our public appearances out there. I know when I showed up at Thompson, I said we should have name tags, and Mr. Raymond pulled one out for us, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
But if we could have
mine.
but if we could have like our
Yes.
names that says school committee member, so if we're out in public events, people know who we are. I don't always think they recognize our faces.
I'm going to get one for myself.
Like coach ones with a marker on it. Yeah.
I did a handwritten one too.
Yeah.
I think that would be really great.
I think that's a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Kristen and I we were in Georgetown, obviously at the class we were wearing name tags, but they're really cool. They have magnetics.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you can put it on anywhere, and
Yeah.
then, so those are great. So we'll get some name tags made.
I have a couple. So I went to the sergeant one. I got a shout out to the Principal A and Assistant Principal Peters and the counselors and all the old friends I saw there, all the many teachers, some of whom had my kids. And then a grown-up, Ms. Meg Roach, who I was her coach. This really made me feel old. But there she was, a special ed teacher. Wow. We made it to every single class, which was a whirlwind evening, but it was just great. And I spoke with a lot of parents, and I have to shout out this one, and I wish I could remember which classroom I saw it in. There was a writing methodology on the wall, and it looks almost exactly like the one I used with my strategy class at Merrimack College. It was slightly altered for younger children, but it was the same process, and that was very impressive, really impressive. And then at the high school open house, again, similarly, a lot of people I knew there, and many thanks to the administration, to Ms. Holman, Mr. Young, Ms. Grantham. I got to sit in AM Thought that we which all 3 of my kids took, and which was absolutely fabulous. And it sounded modernized to me. Yes, I remember going to that very same thing with my kids when my kids were there. It sounded like they definitely updated it, but it was really, really very good. I was also impressed at the high school with the energy. I wandered into a bunch of different classes. Some folks I did know, some I didn't, but everybody was well prepared. Had materials for the parents. you know, and the people were engaged, and I was very impressed, actually. Kudos to the parents, because the participation, this really surprised me. I kind of expected it at Sargent, that there'd be a lot of people there, but the high school attendance was, I don't know what the numbers were, but my informal observation was really strong, which that's good stuff. So it was just, I really enjoyed that.
So I wanted to comment particularly on the high school, because although I've spent lots and lots of time in middle and elementary schools, I think the last time I was in a high school while it was in session was just before I graduated.
Oh, my.
Right. You know, Teddy Roosevelt was running for president. But I mean, I, of course, didn't have a student, so what you were supposed to do was go to all the classes that your children were in. So Deb thoughtfully gave me a list, and I went out and went to see them, which was really cool. A couple times I got there in their off period, so basically I got to talk to them for 10 minutes, and other times I got to hear what they said. But there's a lot to be impressed with. They're all very excited about their subject, which, of course, totally different than elementary school, because it's, you know, you're beginning to teach them about science or whatever. They were also very, a lot of them mentioned what they thought, what they did to plan about how their children learned, so to prepare them to learn. You know, and then they talked about particular stuff they did, and it was a very impressive group. I really enjoyed being there.
So I will start off by saying I was not successful with this, but I did go to the town there was a grant expo in town last week, and kind of in that same idea of, you know, name tag things to help us with communication and collaboration. I went to the grant expo looking to see if there was ways to help, you know, if there were grants available in any form to help a school committee like us work to better communicate, to collaborate, have a presence. Was not successful, but I still just wanted to share that, you know, not going to stop looking, but find out if there's different ways that we can help for funding to help us do better outreach and collaboration. Also, the open house, just kind of ditto on the open houses. It was fantastic to see the turnout at the school I attended. It was great. And then also we had, as Chairman Hicks mentioned, we had our second tri-board chairs meeting this week. So it was the, two members of the select board, 2 members of FinCom, the intent is the chairs and the vice chairs, as well this time the town manager and Superintendent Lathrop. And we were talking about, what we focused on was just kind of same information we've heard before, but kind of the budgeting process and what that looks like from a town, kind of the holistic perspective, and really focusing again on just how the boards need to work together as we go through that. So I think it's just important, just kind of keeping that communication between all the boards.
Thank you. I have a few things. One, it's sort of connected to the schools thing, but a little disconnected. Right before school, they had that sort of transformer explosion kerfuffle at Hayes Stadium, and unfortunately the lights are not yet working. They're getting repaired, but that takes time. But the boys football team that practices there has not been able to practice because it's dark. So they've been over at the high school on one of the practice fields next to the big football field. So thank you to, I guess, to Steve and to anyone in the school department that's allowing them to do that and helping out. They appreciate it. They like being on the turf. And I appreciate that they still get to go to practice. Second, I love, Ms. Sando, I love that the teachers are communicating out to parents about what kids are doing in school and learning. We got the email from my kid's 8th grade ELA teacher about what book they're going to be reading next in advance of them reading the book. So I was able to buy the book and start reading it. It's super fun. All the information, all the things they're going to do there. I know Arts and Letters puts together all that stuff for them to do, but to send out, so it makes sense, but I still like getting it. Understanding why they're doing what they're going to do within the connections is incredible. And it's a really good book. They don't know that yet because they just got it, but I've read the first 40 pages. And then this is sort of a message to our, in particular, to our moms in our district with students who are with ASD. Lots of things came out in the news today. I just want to say you're amazing, and to suggest that anyone has done anything accidentally or on purpose or unknowingly to hurt their child is just rubbish and absurd, and that you should follow the directions of your doctor and take care of your bodies the way you need to take care of them, because that's just the right thing to do. So, any other?
Just last week, mention about the Fall Festival was great. Enjoyed being there and answering people's questions. We had a lot of visitors, and I got to show off my new puppy, which was great.
She was very cute. Next meeting is October 9th at 6:30 p.m. here. Town meeting, May 12th at the high school.
Get your babysitter.
Maybe in the auditorium, but also maybe in the field house. Get babysitters now. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Sams.
A second?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Moskowitz?
Yeah.
Mrs. Sams?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Cormier?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you all.